And first of all, I want to thank Al Ayman, the best manager in the world.
He's the fucking champion of the world!
Adonis Stevenson, piece of shit.
No, I think Rosado, good boy. Rosado is a good boy.
I've become a massive international superstar. It's as simple as that.
I eat your asshole alive, you bitch! Scared of the real man. I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot.
I'm going to physically shoot David Hay. He fucking glassed me. He glassed me.
Derek, who's down? I'm Shannon Briggs. I'm hard to kill. I'm the black meat of all. I'm hard to fucking kill.
Well, I believe Christopher can take a punch. I'm very good at math and looking at a fighter and seeing what his abilities are. I can't see that Golovkin has anything like Christopher's speed, his power, his punching ability, his hand speed, his foot movement. I don't see that from a calculating point of view. I don't see that he has anything like that. So then it's going to come down to heart.
You know, I spoke to Joe Gallagher, they don't want to fight Carl Frampton. And the bottom line is, you know, no disrespect to Prosperenka, these guys aren't good enough to face Carl Frampton.
I'm the best heavyweight champion in the world. I'm half WBC with me. I'm undefeated champion. Undisputed champion. I want who next?
He's got my dimeribonucleic acid.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Who next?
Welcome everyone to the 101st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse Podcast, brought to you by BoxingAsylum.com. With me today I've got Alex Morris, Donny Baseball, Steve Wellens, Tommy Allen, Mr. Boxing Scene Kurt Ward. I'm your host Andy Patterson. Lads, not much by ways of, well, there was quite a fair bit of action during the course of the week last night. Vladimir Klitschko, widely classed as the heavyweight champion in the world, even though he's got one title missing from the collection. Knocked out Kubrat Pulev in 5 rounds. To be honest, I don't know if it's maybe because he's got a 3-fight contract with HBO, hence the reason why he was a bit more exciting, trying to get maybe a crossover appeal with American fans. But we'll go to the man who knows all things Vladimir Klitschko, Kurt Ward. Kurt, mate, you know you got to hand it to Klitschko. Some will say that he did beat a one-dimensional fighter, but it seems as when he walked into that jab in the first 30 seconds in the first round, that really shook Klitschko down to his boots. It was more like he just switched into war mode and he's like, fuck this. And he comes right back with the left hook, dropped him twice in the first round. I think he was down once in the third round and erased him with that lovely left hook. And I just say to you as well, as it's high time Klitschko starts leading with his left hook far more often.
Well, yeah, I think he threw the left hook early, didn't he? He found a harm straight away, and then, you know, he couldn't miss it all night. I mean, Pulev is, you know, one thing, he's a tough, durable guy, and he just couldn't take the power. And, you know, we have said before that he is a good fighter and one of the best heavyweights, you know, of today, but he's got no head movement, and it's going to be hard for him once he, you know, the shots start landing, which they will. But, you know, we see a lot of fighters go into their shell when they fight Vlad. They don't put up much of a fight, or they try and, you know, just survive. But Pulev, to his credit, he went for it. He stood, you know, in the centre of the ring. He, you know, he's a big guy himself. He tried to land his jab on the big right hand, and, you know, as you said, he caught him early with the jab, and it seemed to you know, spring him into life a bit, and it was definitely what was needed, because, you know, we want to see more explosiveness. We know he's got the power in either hand, and once it lands, you know, it's over for anyone, I think. And, you know, Pulev, he kept getting back up. I think the fight could have been over in the first round, to be honest. I think Vlad, he was completely gone after the first left hook landed, but, you know, he's still got that about him where he doesn't really go for the kill when he could have. But, you know, he carried on hurting him, and the end came. I mean, Pulev didn't get back up in the 5th round, and, you know, he took a lot of punishment. His face was a mess afterwards. But I think, you know, a lot of people are saying that was the best for a Vlad fight they've seen in years, or maybe the best they've ever seen him. So I think that's great for him personally, and for the fact that HBO have, you know, took a gamble, I suppose, in, you know, tying him to the network for the 3 fights. And, you know, next year now we could see some good opponents. You got the Fury Chisora winner, you got hopefully the Stavern Wilder winner. They're talking about Bryant Jennings as well, so there's a few guys there that he can face, and I think it was a great performance. He took a few shots as well. It was an exciting heavyweight fight, which we don't see often enough.
Alex, you heard Curtly mention about that second left hook during the first round. I don't know if it actually landed, because I think the way Eurosport were working there last night is the camera was kind of off in the crowd a couple of times, so I never really saw if that punch actually landed clean. But at the same time as well, do you think maybe Vlad, Kurt mentioned that some people were saying that this is probably the best I've seen Vladimir fight in quite some time. I think if you go back to the Marius Wack fight, for instance, it seems to be, if he's got guys roughly around about the same height as him, it does seem to kind of make him a wee bit more offensive-minded, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it makes him a bit more wary that he just can't lean on the guys. I mean, obviously, we saw it with Povetkin, the way, he had that significant height advantage, significant size advantage. You could just lean on him a bit more. He had the advantage of the referee as well, who allowed that. We could see that Vlad was sort of attempting to go for that quite early on. He went in and just straight up cuddled Pulev, but Tony Weeks was there. I don't think he was having any of the messing about that night. Vlad is a natural bully anyway. He will go in and he will push and shove, and Grant and Pulev, he was going for it as well. Every time they got into the clinch, Pulev, he was going for the rabbit punches. He was trying to work off the inside as much as he can, and I think Tony Weeks sort of let him get away with a bit too much of the rabbit punches. But in the end, I think you sort of have to excuse that for the amount of times that Vlad did still try to clinch in this. It was an excellent performance, and I'm starting on a negative about the performance, but it was an excellent performance for him, and it just shows how dominant he really and how good he really is. And a performance like that, refreshes in your mind that why he is so good is not a fact that this guy's been the absolute best for apart from his brother for the past 8 years, 10 years, even longer maybe. We know he's there. We know he's got the talent. Half the time he just can't be bothered to show it. He just doesn't need to show it. Simply because he's so much better than other guys. But when someone comes forward like Pulev did, hurt him in that first round, he realised, hold on, I've got to put this guy away. He might hurt me again, and he did that. I thought Pulev obviously fought just a stupid fight, the way his hands were held up like that, wide apart, hands high up like that, against a fighter like Klitschko, who dominates with straight right hands and jabs. But the most interesting thing about it was that he dominated with the left hook as well, and obviously that's going to bring in more interest from the American market, as you say. Maybe that's why he is doing it, for the HBO market. Maybe he's just realising that, we hear it from Floyd a lot. He says, I want to fight for my fans now. I want to fight the sort of style that makes my fans happy, give something back to them. Maybe he's doing that, but I think it was just a case of him having to adapt to what Pulev was bringing to him. Pulev was obviously coming in there to win it, coming in there to get a bit rough and ready with him, and Vlad just wasn't having it, and he knew that he found a home for the left hook last night, and we saw what happened. He knocked him spark out with it.
Yeah, I think if you go back to the Wack fight, actually, is when he got chinned in the fifth round. Actually, he got hurt and he got sagged up against the ropes. I actually felt, then, the beating he put on Wack thereafter, because I think I commented on it. I remember clearly mentioning, I think it was the first fight after Manny Stewart died, and I'm saying to myself, this isn't like Vladimir, because he was more aggressive. It was usually more kind of safety first at times as well. So I was really very surprised the way he came out in that fight. But as you say as well, is leading with that left hook there last night. He needs to do it a wee bit more often.
And there was even a few jabs to the body, which you never see from Klitschko. I think Jonathan Banks was telling him to go down, and Banks is definitely trying to get him to do more things in the ring instead of the usual, because he doesn't usually commit to body. He used to, but Manny Stewart took it away from him, and they're trying to get him to do it. But like I said, it's very hard to change something now that's been so successful.
That's true. Steve, mate, I know you caught the fight. I don't know if you actually recall if you were on a show we did back in the 1st of May. It was a Thursday night special show we did, and one of the questions was, is Vladimir Klitschko a top 20 heavyweight? Bearing in mind, now, I know his career's still going on. He's saying he's got another 3 years, or maybe 3-4 years maximum he's maybe going to fight for. Can you conceivably see him pushing himself into the top 10? Of all time?
Top 10 of all time? I don't know if there's the level of opposition maybe out there to sort of go hand in hand with Klitschko's dominance. I mean, he's done everything that's been asked of him, but he hasn't. The opponents haven't really been there for me to sort of push him. You know, it sometimes takes two to tango, and even like I suppose you got David Hay, for example, and we thought that was going to be a good fight, and Klitschko just dominated him, and I don't think he will be able to push top because of the level of opposition, but his longevity and the way he's dominated the sport, I mean, you've got to give him respect. That's 21 fights in a row now. That he's pretty much had everything his own way. I think the last time he was seriously hurt and seriously in trouble was Samuel Peter back in 2005. That's about, 8 or 9 years ago. He's never been in that sort of trouble since. So you got to hand it to him. He's got the jab and grab style down to a T. And then last night he showed us exactly what he's like when he comes forward. That's the type of Klitschko people want to see. If he fights like that for the rest of his career, I'll put him in the top 10 because I was really excited by that performance. And I think it was a combination of Pulev coming forward and the fact that it was American TV who were interested. I think that's what it was. He's giving HBO something, isn't he? The American fight fans aren't going to be interested in the jab and grab. Povetkin, Klitschko. They want to see this more exciting Klitschko. So I think that was all about. But top 10's a bit of a push for me.
See, I think as well as just before I bring Tommy in the top 10 debate, just what we were talking about the actual size of the guy. I mean, I think if you look at the Povetkin fight, what is he, 5'10", maybe just slightly short of 6 feet? That was the reason why Klitschko was able to kind of tower over him and kneel him down. He couldn't get that with Pulev. All he could do with Pulev last night was what Ali used to do to Joe Frazier, was pull him in with the left hand, pull him in close so he could then hug him. That was the reason why it wasn't going to work there last night, I didn't think. Tommy, mate, you made a comment about Larry Holmes saying as if some people are arguing that he's top 3, top 4 of all time, you're probably arguing the fact is if people are putting him in there, you need to put Vladimir in the top 10.
Yeah, I'd say so. Larry Holmes, he's not got a standout resume, and during his time at the top, so a lot of people critically him, they wouldn't really put him alongside the best of the old time. I think Vladimir's going to do the same stuff right now, so really if you're going to have Larry Holmes in the top 3, top 4, I think their resumes are comparable. I think you've got to put Vladimir up there, definitely in the top 10, yeah. I think, obviously, as a head-to-head heavyweight against greats for the past as well, I think he'd do pretty good against a lot of them.
Kurt, you disagree with that, mate, even though as a big Clittite as yourself,
he's a hater, man.
You're saying top 15?
Yeah, well, it's not really his own fault. I mean, you can't criticise him for something that's beyond his control. He can only fight the guys who are in his era. He hasn't got a Hall of Famer to fight. The other guy was his brother. There's no one else he could have fought. I know people say David Hay, Povetkin, these supposed to be good fights for him, but they're not like the top fighters. I mean, Frazier, Foreman, Ali, they had each other to fight. It's all these other guys have had those kind of fights. I think the thing is, he could have the longevity, and I think that's got to be looked at. I mean, if we're still here in 2-3 years' time and he's still where he is now, how many defences will he have? I mean, when you talk about dominance in terms of years, in terms of title defences, he's right up there. There's only Joe Louis and Larry Holmes ahead of him. So even though he hasn't got those big standalone wins, he's up there in other departments, and you just don't know if that can push him in there. It's hard to say, but the heavyweight division hasn't really got much respect from a lot of fans, so I think they're going to never give him the credit he really deserves. But it could be a thing where in 10 years' time he gets more credit. I mean, I remember Lennox Lewis wasn't liked by a lot of people, but now they realise that he was a great fighter and he deserved a lot more respect. So maybe that'll happen in Klitschko's future. But now I think he needs those fighters around him, and unfortunately for him, he hasn't got them. But if he can get a win over some of the young guys, I mean, who's to say a win over Fury might go on to be the top heavyweight in the world for a few years. So those are the things that he needs to do, I think.
You can't really ignore what he's doing either, or what he could keep on doing. I mean, he's still beating the best guys that are out there. You can question how good these guys are, but it's not as if he's avoiding certain fighters, and avoiding certain rivals out there, certain guys that might give him trouble. He beat Pulev, who was pretty much rated the number 2 in the world. He beat Povetkin, the number 2 in the world. David Hay, the number 2 in the world. He's beaten countless others as well in his reign, and I think that you can't really ignore that especially if he keeps on doing it. I mean, you can see, say, you get as another 2 or 3 years at the top, he'd easily beat another 2 or 3 top-ranked guys. You know, maybe Brian Jennings. They're probably going to look at now some of the American guys, considering he's with HBO. And I think that'll, you know, it's the publicity of it, isn't it? It's the fact that he needs to be aware and more open to the American public and their views. And if he's fighting American fighters, maybe Stavern or Jennings, like I was saying, then I think that'll, you know, push him up there even further, I think.
Do you think as well, Alex, the way his career sort of had these different parts to it stands by him as well? The fact that if you look back, say, 2002, 2003, when he was losing to the likes of Brewster, and I think it was Corey Sanders, wasn't it, who knocked him out? To think now, that sort of fragile guy who had no defence, no chin, the Americans weren't interested in him, and he's rebuilt his career off the back of that. You know, he's faced the adversity, and he's this dominant champion, having been completely damaged goods at the time. I think that should stand by him in the way he's tempered his style and his reputation.
Absolutely. I feel that I saw someone on Twitter earlier complaining that, well, Vlad could never be an all-time great because he got knocked the fuck out by these journeymen, these bums in, you know, Sanders and Brewster and all that. And I was just like, well, look what he's done. He's come back from that. He's, you know, as you said, Steve, he's come back and he's changed his style. He's become an absolutely dominant champion since then. All the great fighters lose at some point in their lives. It's how they deal with that. Lennox Lewis, you know, he lost to Oliver McCall. He came back and he destroyed him. He lost to Hasim Rahman. Came back and absolutely destroyed him. Vlad's learning from his mistakes and he's coming back. And that's what, you know, the brilliance is of an all-time great. And I think he's doing that.
But the thing, these fans, they're hypocrites because they'll shit on Floyd Mayweather for, you know, not risking his unbeaten record. They'll say, lost doesn't mean the end of the world, you know, as long as you fight and, you know, if you get back. But when a guy loses, they say, he can never be an all-time great because he lost. I mean, it's rubbish. I mean, no matter what he does, that some people are never going to give him the credit. You know, 10 years ago, he was considered finished. His own brother told him to retire from the sport, and people mocked him. You know, if you watch the Klitschko documentary, fans, you know, openly mocked him, and you know, he was going to retire because they didn't feel he had anything to offer the sport. No one at all knew that he would go on to dominate. You can say whatever you want about the division, but this was a guy who was getting blasted out by Lamont Brewster, who, you know, he's not on his level and he should have dominated him. And you know, he's put those things right, but they'll still criticise him. So I just think he won't get the respect or credit he really deserves, to be honest.
It's been remiss of me, actually. It's been 18 minutes in this podcast so far. I actually forgot that Donnie was on the call. Donnie, mate, are you there?
No, I think I just went to take a piss. I came back, you know. I'm here.
I think this is the only fight you saw, actually. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you've been listening in and stuff, but give me your thoughts. I don't know if you actually caught any of the build-up. What do you make about the rumours going around about that Klitschko apparently hadn't been drug tested for this fight, while Pulev apparently been tested 6 times, and Klitschko also apparently made him wear his custom-made gloves?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what divas in the sport do these days. They have little glove controversies and stuff like that. I mean, that's just the way that it is. But you know, I mean, if I had, if there was like really one way for Pulev to win was hurting him, and he can minimize that risk, he's going to do it. I mean, it's not even a new phenomenon. I mean, Sugar Ray did the same thing with Marvin Hagler, although at least he paid him extra. We all know that K2 is notoriously bad with negotiating. You know, they're pretty vicious in the negotiating room for fights. So you know, isn't that true that K2 is they don't pay opponents pretty well?
Well, I think that's a rumour anyway, but I think with the Pulev gate, it was $1.4 million he got last night, Kurt.
Got 20%, didn't he?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, of the purses, but I think they all get paid well. I mean, I think most of them want the Klitschko fight for one reason, and they're getting paid well, I think.
Shannon break it, wouldn't he, anyway?
So again, lads, it's all cut in there at once. Sorry, Steve, what were you saying, mate?
No, I was just saying, payday must be good enough for the likes of Shannon Briggs to be chasing Klitschko around. I mean, it must be reasonably significant.
Yeah, well, he got forced to a $2 million lawsuit because he smashed some guy in a nightclub or something, so he'd be wanting to get that money back somehow. Donnie, mate, you do me a favour, can you sign out to Skype, mate, and sign back in, because I think you're kind of breaking in and out slightly there.
I sound like Alex Morris?
Yeah. Very, very posh. You sound like an Essex Eton boy, you know.
All right, be right back.
No worries. How is the sound, lads, anyway? Okay?
Yeah, it's goes in and out a bit shit, doesn't it? I don't know what's going on with Skype lately, but it seems a few times it's been a bit funny.
Fucking
Bit
annoying,
choppy now and
anyway.
then, but
Anyway, just on the point of Pulev, that first knockdown, actually, do you see him getting up standing like Danny LaRusso on
yeah.
on the one leg? I obviously just try to kind of like play the mind games that nothing was wrong with him. But to be honest, I was actually that right hand that Klitschko landed in the third round. He kind of slipped into distance, lead right hand, boom. How fucking Pulev took that. I did mention, although he got knocked out, I did mention as well as on Twitter during the fight, I think he's got a decent enough chin. I just think he dropped his right hand at the wrong moment to kind of get caught with that left hook, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he has. I think he's a pretty durable guy, to be honest. But not many. The only person I could see standing up to that is Marius Wack. I mean, anyone else is getting that left hook, he's gone. And that's he'll put people out cold. And like I said, he was badly hurt in the first round. And it could have been over right there, but he carried on. I think he's pretty tough, to be honest, and it'll be hard for a few other guys to stop him, I reckon. But yeah, I mean, he took it all, and the fact that he was able to stand on one leg a bit to try and even pretend that he wasn't hurt I thought was pretty good, to be honest.
Oh, he was out of it there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny stuff when he tried that out. Did anyone notice, by the way, that looked like Vlad got a little hurt right before he landed the knockout punch?
It was a kind of right hand and a kind of sneaky kind of left. It wasn't a kind of left hook or a left uppercut. It was more like a kind of
left
jab, wasn't it?
Upward jab, weren't it? Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, so I mean, there was Vlad, exchanging in the center of the ring and delivering knockout punches. I mean, like Kurt said, I think it was one of the better fights we've seen from Vladimir in a while. Like I said, I don't know that it was necessarily trying to sell himself or anything like that. I think it was just, he realized that this guy had the potential to hurt him, and he wanted to put him away, and he knew that he was capable of it because of Kubrat Pulev's horrific defense. I mean, I just don't understand that fighting style, especially when you're fighting someone like Klitschko. I mean, it's like, did he have anybody in camp telling him, all right, you have the guy who probably has one of the best jabs in the history of the heavyweight division and a great straight right hand and a ton of power. Hold your hands about 3 feet apart. That'll be really good to avoid punches up the middle. I mean, it made absolutely no sense. And I mean, I know maybe that's just the way that he fights, but you have great fighters adapt their styles to fit different opponents. And to me, I mean, I know he landed a few punches that rung Klitschko's bell a little bit, but to me, he didn't exactly make Vladimir's job very hard for him. And about that drug testing thing, I mean, there's always allegations about that. I remember in the Rios-Pacquiao fight, Alex Ariza had said that Pacquiao never got drug tested or something like that. But
he's a shitstorm, you wank anyway, that bastard.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always allegations coming out from other sides saying, the other side never got tested, they bought them all off. But I mean, you never hear anything more about it afterwards, and I think that's because if there was really something to it, I think you would. But a lot of times it's just a bunch of pre-fight shit talking, and I mean, if there's really these allegations hold any real weight, I guess we'll find out about it later on. But for right now, we don't know. And as far as the gloves thing, I mean, I'm just not surprised. I mean, that's what the drawing fighters do, and that's what they've done for a long time. I think I mentioned earlier when the sound was kind of bad, Sugar Ray Leonard did it to Marvin Hagler, but the only difference was at least he paid Hagler for it. These guys are told, well, you're going to just wear these gloves, and if you don't like it, there's going to be no fight. But I mean, I think these opponents should have a little bit of balls and stuff. Like, does anyone really think that Klitschko wouldn't have gotten into the ring if Pulev insisted on another pair of gloves? Does anyone think that Floyd Mayweather would have screwed over all the cable companies, would have had to refund money to all the different people who bought the first Maidana fight? If and say, hey, the fight's off because he wouldn't wear Maidana, because Maidana wouldn't wear the gloves of his choice. I mean, I don't think that it'd happen, and I think these guys just assume that these guys will kowtow to them. But I think that in reality, when push comes to shove, they wouldn't actually leave the fight. So I'd like to see one of these non-drawing fighters stand up to the guy with the big drawing power and be like, I'm just going to wear my gloves, and if you don't like it, then go tell your fans that the fight's off because you're a pussy.
The thing is with the drug testing, Vlad should do random testing. All the top fighters from all the weights should do random testing. But the thing is, people try and make out that it was somehow written in the contract, then somehow Klitschko changed his mind and said no. The thing is, Salon fighters, from what I understand, is they do random drug testing. That's in their contract. But the fight was never signed and to do random. They were happy. They signed the fight as normal. Then Pulev started, mouthing off saying he isn't doing testing where I am. Well, they knew that going into the fight. The thing is, Klitschko, from what he says, he's the German testing is the best in the world. They caught Sam Solomon, they caught Marius Wack. They believe that the German testing is best. Me personally, I think he should do random testing like they all should. I mean, you had people saying, "Oh, he's a drug cheat." He's refusing to do the test, but it's a majority of the fighters are not doing random testing. It's a small minority who are doing the testing. And Nito Donaire, I don't know if he still does it randomly testing. How many of his opponents were randomly tested? It's like none of these guys are doing it apart from a very select few. And all the top fighters, only Floyd Mayweather was doing it for a while. Pacquiao, now he's been doing it. I don't know if he still is, but very rarely do any of them do it.
That fight last night, was that the first fight of his HBO deal?
Yeah.
So that being the case, Tommy, who's going to be his next two opponents for the HBO are going to be happy enough to show? I mean, I heard Eurosport mention last night they're potentially Wilder, but he's a Heyman fighter, so that's not going to happen anytime soon.
I think it's going to be Bryant Jennings anyway. I think he'll be one of the fighters, and obviously the Tyson Fury against Derek Chisora winner is going to be mandatory to face him, so that fight may get forced upon him. So probably maybe Jennings in the winner of that fight.
I think as well, if you look at it, remember when Coogan Cassius came on here
Shannon Briggs maybe.
Shannon Briggs. I really don't. Does anybody actually fucking believe that he is actually going to get that fight?
No.
Does anybody actually believe that this thing is not staged between these two?
I don't think it's staged, but I don't think he's going to get the fight. I think Big Vlad will just burst him the side of the ring one of these days. He'll just get a hold of him, drag him in the locker room. And
when did all this start? I mean, is this just a recent thing with Briggs? I've only been seeing him on
about 6 months or something.
Remember, did they know happen no long after we interviewed him? It started after we spoke to him. He kind of started off maybe about a few weeks before that.
Yeah.
He's wanted a Vlad fight for a while. Then he got the Vitali fight. He didn't deserve that, but he got it because of his mouth. And that's the thing. He got that fight because of his mouth. He didn't get it for what he did in the ring, and that's how he sees this one. Yeah, he got battered, but he didn't get his purse was. He lost a lot of his purse due to people outside the ring. He wants the payday again. He probably genuinely believes that he's a big puncher. He believes that he can, if he detonates one bomb, he can be the champion, and he probably sees Vlad is the easier brother to face. I mean, he wants to fight, he wants the payday, and he knows that his mouth can he's got it in there before, so maybe he can do it again. But to be honest, I don't think Vlad's got long left, and he's only got a few fights left, so he's going to want to fight as the best guys as possible, in my opinion. I don't think that fight is going to happen.
Vlad's not going to want to give him the payday either, is he? I don't think. Briggs is hoping that he's going to get under Vlad's skin that much that Vlad's going to say, right, I'm going to knock this guy out and shut him up. But Vlad's probably, by not fighting him, would do, shut Briggs up quicker, maybe, because he just a has-been who wants a payday. If he really believed, he could win the fight, I think he'd go off and beat some contenders and work his way up. But the fact of the matter is, he'd probably get knocked out by all the viable contenders. So he wants to go straight to where the money is. If I was Vlad, I'd say, okay, I'll fight you, I'll give you 20 grand, and then see if he fights him.
No chance.
He's
going to get a ton of shit, Klitschko, if he takes that fight. I mean, you think about look at Briggs' record. I think he's fought 6-7 times this year. Not one is actually a worthy opponent. Every time he steps up a class, he seems to get stopped, or he doesn't. But the thing that's really bugging me is he's got a top 10 ranking, I think, the WBA, because he fought for one of their bogus titles. Who did he fight to beat it to get that ranking?
Didn't he fight Ali Adams at one point or something?
He got it for his last fight, not the fight before last, I believe. He got it when he went 12 rounds. I mean, but it's just the bogus rank. He just makes. That's why people who say, "Oh, this guy's ranked such and such," that means it's a good fight. Well, Shannon Briggs is ranked. I mean, it's a terrible fight. Let's be honest. Vitali put him in hospital. An old Vitali, battered him from pillar to post. Vlad is much bigger punch, and he's just. I mean, I like Shannon. I don't really want to see him take that kind of hiding, to be honest.
I think he's in on it.
I think he's in on it. I mean, look at the scene outside the gym. He's got a full sweat on, right? and he's standing outside with no top on. He was in that gym like five minutes before, getting a sweat up, training and stuff, and say, right, okay, lad, this is what we'll do, mate. You go on the phone to all your colleagues in the media and German press. I'll stand outside and we'll start a chant going and stuff. Did anybody catch me actually arguing with Vitaly's wife last night? Anybody catch that?
Was that his wife? Yeah, I was going to mention that. That was his wife, was he?
Vitaly's wife, she basically told me to get the fuck.
After Vlad beats him, they'll need to fight the wives next, and fucking the rest of the family. Whole family giving it.
Anyways, guys, I think we'll move on for that chat just now. What we'll do is, with Ireland card, I'm going to Australia. Steve, you were at ringside, mate, for this card. First off, I was quite happy to see Khalid Yafai get a full 12 rounds under his belt. I was really surprised that Bresciano's corner actually allowed him to keep going out there, because he just got battered, absolute hammered for 12 rounds just about. Yafai saying his hands are all swollen up, but I'm not surprised because he laid everything into that guy there last night.
The guy took a beating beyond what he should have been. I think the corner should have maybe pulled him out. And I mean, if not for the fact that the flipping tape on his gloves kept on coming loose every 5 seconds, but he couldn't take the body shots at all. Yafai's original opponent was going to be Luke Wilton, which I thought would have been a reasonable enough sort of domestic dust-up. Luke, I think, is maybe going to fight Ian Butcher soon, so that would have been a good one. But I was impressed by Yafai. Looks like a really skilled operator, and I want to see more of him. That's the first I've really sat and watched him for 12 rounds. I was very impressed.
He's massive at that bloody weight. I mean, I don't know what height he is, but I'll tell you what, some people were saying to me last night, I would fancy Butler in a fight between the two. I think Yafai would just be slightly too big for him. I thought definitely too big for him, probably maybe just overpower him.
I think Yafai would beat Butler if they fought. They're talking about Yafai maybe fighting Jamie Conlan or someone like that, but I think Yafai would have the beating of all the domestic boxers.
What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I was really
Butler.
Well, I'm a big Paul Butler fan, and I wouldn't readily admit that Yafai would beat him, but I do agree that he's got a big size advantage, and we saw the size advantage that Stewie Hall had over Butler and all the problems that caused him. I think maybe that's more due to Butler's inexperience at the pro game still. I think in maybe 10, 15 fights, or maybe not that much, but maybe 5 or 10 fights, both of them, step it up again before Yafai's got to move up the weights again. I think that would be a good fight for them both, and as long as we get to see it and, stupid promoters don't get in the way.
Eddie will have Butler by that time.
I just noticed some Oisin Fagan was on that card last night. He must be fucking 50 or something like that now, that guy.
He's 41. He got stopped in the second round. They threw the towel in for him in the second round, yeah.
Beat him, didn't he?
Amir ruined him.
Broke his leg that night. He fell on the canvas and broke his leg. He's gutted to this day about that he didn't get a chance to his true worth, because he was a warrior in his day. I've seen him have many a good fight, but he's past it now, yeah.
John Joe Nevin, I mean, the Jack Heath fight, I really don't know what the point of that fight was. Maybe just to kind of get him out and keep him active or whatever it was. But the guy he fought, Steve, was like, he had the body of a pound note, didn't he?
That was a bit very poor match. It was very poor. That guy even standing in the corner, you could see he looked about 11 years old. I mean, you knew he was going to get a beating. And John Joe Nevin is an Olympic silver medalist, fought at the World Championships as an amateur. He's no fool, and to put him in against a kid like that, barely 20 years old or whatever he is, and more losses than wins, I think, that was one of the poorer ones. Like I was saying to you offline, the reason why I was sort of defending the card, because there was some decent fights off TV. You didn't really see the best fights on TV, I didn't think. A few of them were reserved off TV, and then the likes of John Simpson pulling out the Patrick Hyland fight was a blow. Wilton not fighting Yafai, and then Sweeney pulling out the Timms fight. I think it was a pretty good card on paper for me. Like, I was happy enough with it, but in reality, with all the pullouts and stuff, it maybe didn't transpire like that.
Yeah, John Simpson pulled out with a back injury.
Yeah.
Spoke to him the day, actually. I think he's back sparring again this week. Hopefully he's kind of hoping to see how his back holds up. I know what he feels like, but I remember my back going once as well. It's a fucking nightmare. I've still got problems with it. How did Sam Egginton look? I think that one was off air as well, mate. How did he look? Obviously, it was a one round blowout against was it a French dude or something?
Yeah, you couldn't really tell too much. I mean, he looked okay, got the jab working, looked pretty comfortable, and then he landed a peach of a left hook to the body, and the guy just crumbled, and the guy was still stretching his body a few minutes later in the corner. It was a real cracking shot, and he's only 21, that kid. He's definitely one to look out for, because I was quite impressed with him. There was another good one off TV, actually, between two unbeaten Dublin guys, Declan Geraghty and John O'Carroll. Geraghty actually ended up getting disqualified, but that was the second fight when they were lobbing stuff into the ring. All the bottles and everything were coming in after that one, because it was like a sort of local dust up, and it was that was a really good fight.
Just talking about items coming into the ring, obviously we need to go into the fight that we're all kind of looking forward to in this card. Gary Spike O'Sullivan fighting Anthony Fitzgerald. All at the end of the day, mate, it was just Spike was just class apart. No, honestly, he's doing his Roy Jones, Nazim Hamed type impressions, brutal right uppercut, and then afterwards he's then starting to fucking dodge Fitzgerald's corner stool. I think it was someone from his corner maybe threw that in. He missed him by millimeters, basically. Great atmosphere though, wasn't it?
Yeah, the atmosphere was good. Nobody wants to see stools and frigging bottles being chucked into the ring, obviously. I'm not sure if it was someone in the corner or part of his fan entourage or what it was who threw it, but I mean, whoever it was, that's bang out of order. But no, the atmosphere was good. This is the first time sort of big-time boxing's been back in Dublin, obviously, since Dunn lost to Poonsawat, and he was in the same arena as well, and might be a good while again before it comes back after that, unfortunately. But no, it was a good night. People liked the boxing, and there was an excellent turnout.
No, top in the card. Now, I think after that fight, Spike called out Matthew Macklin, and I said as well, if Macklin wins, I can't see that fight happening. But the question now, there's two questions now come out of this fight between Jorge Sebastian Hyland. Macklin stopped in the 10th round, brutal right hook that basically put him down. He spent a lot of energy going into maybe the first 4 or 5 rounds in that fight, and then he just couldn't really handle the non-stop pressure from Hyland. Two questions now happens here. Is Macklin now going to chuck it, or does he take the Spike fight, and would it make big money or decent money in Ireland, do you think?
Make decent money. I don't know if it would make big money or not. I mean, this is the first time Spike's sort of been put on sort of prime time Sky. I mean, that's maybe the first time a lot of people have seen him in action. They maybe need to see more. I know he fought Billy Joe Saunders as well, so the sort of more well-informed fans would have seen him, but other people might need to see more of him before it generates money. But I suppose that's the level that Macklin's going to have to fight at now. If he doesn't retire, he's going to have to consider the likes of O'Sullivan or John Ryder. I think Eddie Hearn mentioned afterwards it'd be unthinkable a year or so ago, Macklin sort of dropping to that level. He's mixing the likes with Golovkin and Stern. But after that Hyland fight, it's either jack it in or drop to that level. I don't see what other options he has. He looked spent when he slumped to the canvas off the finishing blow. It reminded me of the Jamie Moore fight. I know he hadn't put as much intensity in it as he did in the Moore fight, but he just had that sort of look across his face as if he was just completely spent. All the energy had gone out of him, and I said to the guy sitting next to me, the early rounds are always Macklin's territory. If he wins the early rounds and then he tends to fade late on, but he wasn't, after about the third round or so, he wasn't winning in the early rounds. So there was only really one way it was going to end, and Hyland ended it brutally, and he just very effective, wasn't he, as a southpaw?
I don't even think a move up in weight would help him with it.
No, I don't think so.
Not.
No.
I think
sorry, Alex.
I think it was Dunn saying it on ringside to Johnny. Macklin just won't want to go down a level, sort of down to domestic level. He just wants the world title fights. That's all that bothers him at the moment. It seemed to be a big chip on his shoulder that he hasn't won that world title yet. The fact that he got robbed against Sturm, or lost a close decision or whatever. But no, he won't want to go back down a level. But if he wants to earn some money, he should do.
The thing is as well, if he's determined to still win a world title now, then he's going to have to drop down to that level and get the wins and get back up. I mean, if he retires, that's it. It's the journey's over. But it just depends what he wants to do. I mean, he looked like an old fighter in there. He looked like a fighter who'd been in a lot of tough fights. The other guy, Hyland, his activity was just way too much for Macklin. I thought Macklin looked alright in the first couple of rounds. He was landing his good shots. He just couldn't hurt the other guy though, and once he was swarming him with body shots and head shots, he just couldn't he just couldn't cope with it. It was just the pace he set was just too much, and he looked very tired early. And I mean, I didn't see him getting stopped like that, to be honest. I just thought he'd lose a wide decision after about 6 or 7 rounds. But you know, the knockout was pretty brutal, and I think he'll retire personally. I just don't think he's got much left, and I don't think he'll want to drop down to that level and potentially lose to those type of guys, to be honest, where he's always seen himself as on a much higher level.
I just want to point out that Macklin switches trainers to Joe Gallagher and then gets brutally knocked out.
How many wins is that on Joe Gallagher's streak recently? How many has he got?
Lost count.
Oh, he had
a few losses now, like.
He had Crawler, then obviously. In fact, talking about Crawler, actually, congratulations on getting the Richard Abril fight, which I think is January 23rd. Tough, very hard fight, actually. It's going to take a lot to kind of get that one. But the thing is, I think he's got to kind of get the work rate in that fight. If he gets the work rate going in that fight, he maybe got a chance to try and make it tighter on the cards. But back to Macklin, as you say, I can understand people saying that he doesn't want to drop down a level. We've seen it with Ricky Burns. He's not want to drop back down to domestic level because I think Eddie Hearn's kind of pushing for maybe like the Crawler fight with Burns at some point. I don't know. I think, personally speaking, I think Macklin will maybe take a year out and see where he's at. But I think he knows himself actually. Is maybe his timings went. Maybe he just isn't as quick anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Well, he took pretty bad losses, didn't he, to Sergio and Golovkin? I mean, they were brutal sort of losses.
And he's been going a long time, hasn't he, when you look at his record? Like, you think back to the Andrew Facey fight, and I mean, even Wayne Elcock fight was, 5 years ago now?
But I think he turned pro at 19 as well, wasn't he? Did he not turn pro at 19?
Yeah.
Not sure if I don't know if he was young as that, but it was a long time ago.
So a lot of hard fights, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a teenager when he turned pro.
2001 he turned pro and he's 32. He was born in 1982. So that'd be about right.
Even that fight in Germany, he didn't look good in that fight either.
Yeah, we thought it was just because he couldn't get up for the 8-rounder, but maybe that was just a precursor of things to come. Maybe it's just not there anymore.
Saying that as well, as he didn't exactly look great against that Lamour Russe when he fought on Atlantic City either.
Yeah, probably had his day in this one.
Yeah, so
He's had a good career though, hasn't he? Like, I mean, it's been...
Yeah, decent fighter.
Can't complain about it. One thing is, I'm slightly pissed about though is he didn't fight the likes of Matt Murray's and Darren Barker's.
Well, he was down to sign Barker though. Do you remember? Him and Barker were supposed to fight on the Magnificent Seven, and Barker pulled out injured, and he ended up fighting like a Spaniard for the European title. So, there was nearly there.
It's a shame when you think about it. I think it was last year or a bit before when Sky had the middleweight round table thing when you had Lee, Murray, Macklin, Barker, as if trying to push that these guys are going to be fighting each other. And now, like a year later, where are they? I mean, Macklin looks like he's going to retire. Barker's already retired, and and
Murray's about to get smashed.
Yeah, and Andy Lee's waiting for his shot. I mean, so they're not going to fight each other, and it's a shame because you had four. No matter what you think about them as fighters or the levels they're at, they would have been in some good fights together.
Now, going over to Australia. Now, I know Kurt and Alex have seen this fight. I managed to catch it yesterday. Anthony Mundine. I wonder if Matty actually kind of was almost like reaching for a shotgun to put it in his mouth at one point, because the man's come back. He had won a split decision victory against Sergei Rabchenko, 115-113, 116-112, and 115-113 to Rabchenko. Now, I watched it. I think I had it 114-114 even a draw. Mundine, I felt swept the first 4-5 rounds maybe. See here, 4 rounds. Yeah, I've got it here.
He looked tired, didn't he?
As the fight went, as you say, the fight went in the the later half of the fight. He started to get tired. Even then, though, I didn't think Rabchenko was actually really kind of punishing him in any sort of way. But Kurt, you and Alex, you both were kind of going daft on Twitter. I was following the fight on Twitter because I was at work. The last 3 rounds I gave to Rabchenko, probably quite clearly, but by the sounds of it, I didn't follow it quite clearly, but you were saying that he had to win at least 3 of the last 4 rounds to get the scorecard 116-112.
Yeah, but it was open scoring, wasn't it? The thing is, I got no problem with Mundine getting the fight. I thought Rabchenko just deserved it, but it was a close enough fight. But one of the judges had him winning 116-112 when after 8 rounds they all had him drawing. I believe, didn't they? Or
it was after 8 rounds. It was one had it 77-75 to Rabchenko, one had it 77-75 to Mundine, and the other had it 76-76.
I don't see how they could have that scorecard of 116, 112 to Mundine when Rabchenko was the one. He was in the ascendancy in the last few rounds. You know, Mundine was absolutely spent. He had hardly anything left. He landed a few good shots, but he was just getting outworked, I thought. And I just don't see how they could get that scorecard.
Yeah, to get the scores that eventually were there, I think it was 116, whatever it was, and 115, 113. You would have two of those judges would have had to give him 3 of the last 4, which impossible. You know, I've got no problem with him winning it. Again, it was a close fight. Could have gone either way. If you didn't know the open scoring was there, you wouldn't have had a problem with it. You would have think, yeah, that's fair enough scores. But when you realise how the judges scored it, especially those last 4 rounds, you just think, yeah, Mundine's had a go at them.
I think Matty won't like this, but I think Mundine deserves credit as well, because I think most felt he would lose this fight. Also, in his last fight against Clutty, he was battered, wasn't he? Let's be honest. And what is he now, 37 or 38 years old? I mean, to come back, and Rabchenko's a decent enough fighter, and, you know, like I said, it was a close fight. He got no problem with winning, so...
Rabchenko was shit, though. I mean, for the first 6 rounds, he was just shit. He did nothing.
He never jabbed himself into distance. It was like he was trying to roll himself in and then just let power punches go.
Just did nothing. He barely threw punches as it was, and it was just complete toss. He let Mundine win that fight.
I just want to know now, will Mayweather or Canelo step up and face their destiny?
We'll discuss that in a later segment, because I think his manager or his promoter or whoever the hell he is going to get a wee nomination at some point, because we'll leave it at that now. Just while we're on the topic of open scoring, Steve, did anybody mention at press row last night about the main event having open scoring? Were they quite in favour of it? Did anybody mention it?
I mentioned it. I asked the person next to me again, is the open scoring sort of in play here? Because I was under the impression that the WBC do the open scoring anywhere outside of America. Is that right?
No, they do. It's apparently it's down to the commission. It's down to whichever country's commission has actually sanctioned the fight. I mean, it's never been used in Britain, I don't think. The only time I've actually heard it being used in America was for the Canelo Lara fight, if I remember rightly. It gets used in Japan all the time. That's the one, sorry.
Wasn't Chavez Martinez one as well?
Chavez
Martinez.
Nah, I mean, you didn't really need open scoring for that fight, in all honesty.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I can't remember if it was.
Can't remember that one.
Wasn't Trout Cotto, was that open scoring? No,
that was open scoring, mate, aye.
Yeah. But it wasn't then, the open scoring wasn't in play last night, though. I mean, have they agreed not to put it on, or, I mean, what's...
No, it was used last night. Did you not hear the announcer reading it out after 8 rounds?
No.
Well, I was just about to ask Steve that. I mean, I was going to say, could any of the Irish people understand the announcer? Because he sounded like a robot that was underwater to me.
He's Danish, that boy.
But yeah, when he announced the, I watched the fight today. I downloaded it and watched it, and I saw him announcing the scores after 8 rounds, and he actually announced it while someone else was talking on the loudspeaker, it sounded like, so I don't know if anyone actually heard it at the time.
That's
all right there.
That's interesting that you bring that up, yeah, because no, I didn't know it was in play, but I actually did hear something being read out, but I thought they were maybe telling them to stop fighting in the crowd or something. Yeah, and that was why I brought it up. I said, is the open scoring in play? And the guy was like, no, I don't think so. And then I never thought anything of it, but they were announcing it then on the...
Yep.
Right?
They did it they did it during like the 8th and 9th round, but if you watch it in Europe in other fights, they usually announce it in the 9th round, like in the first 30 seconds when they're both fighting, but they announced it while Macklin and Hyland was still in their corner sitting down, and the announcer was definitely saying something else about something, I don't know what, so I didn't think anyone caught it, because no one Macklin was down on all 3 cards, and no one read it out though. Yeah, but no one in the crowd seemed to be bothered, because I didn't think they heard it.
No, I wasn't aware of that then.
I thought they were being silent because Macklin was losing.
Yeah, well, probably, but I noticed, see, for instance, in Thailand and Japan, well, especially in Thailand, what they do is, in those fights, is they do after the 4th round and after the 8th round, and the camera always goes to the judge or the commissioner at ringside who's holding a piece of paper up with the fighters' names and what the score is. In Japan, you usually have it on the left-hand side of the screen, and you try and guess who's who at the end of the day, but... Yeah, I'm kind of coming around to the idea actually that all for this open scoring now. Actually, I'm starting to come around to it.
I think that there's pros and cons to it, isn't it? I mean, if a guy's maybe more ahead than he thought he was, he could start going into a bit of running mode, for the last few rounds, and the pro of it, if a guy's behind and maybe doesn't think he's behind, or maybe thinks he's a lot closer, he has to go for the knockout then, so it can make it more exciting. But I think in one of the Canelo fights, I think it was the Trout fight, I think most people looked at it as a far more closer fight, and the judges basically had Canelo winning every single round.
Yeah.
And Canelo coasted the last few rounds. He didn't do nothing. So I think that's when he's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't influence the fights. That's the problem with it. I mean, it's useful and interesting for us to know. We think, oh yeah, the judges have got it like this, but it shouldn't be influencing the fights, I don't think.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, Twitter questions. Kurt, we got any callers coming on, mate?
I don't think anyone is at the moment. I think they're ducking.
See, this is the thing, after the fucking success, or you might call it, maybe the interrogation we had recently and stuff, all these glory hunters seem to have disappeared now. There's Adam Smith now on the call today. Where else isn't he here? Where's Gabe Lewis after speaking to Al Bernstein? Tommy's away for 10 minutes now. Where the fuck's Tommy?
And Adam Smith was begging us for days, please let me on with Eddie. Please,
yeah.
just let me hear his voice on the phone with us.
Yeah.
We got him on.
Did anybody hear? Did anybody read his comments on Twitter last night about the betting on the Highland Macklin fight?
Yeah, he tagged Eddie in to try and get a little retweet off him. I thought that was very pathetic.
That's what I was going to say to him actually. If he came on the show tonight, actually, I was going to say to him, I said, "Are you coming on?" And he went, "No, I can't make it. I'm going to duck the show tonight." I was just going to say to him, could he have crawled any further up the dinner dumping dung trumpet that is fucking Eddie Hearn's arse? My God.
we should have told him Eddie was on tonight. He definitely would have made it then.
Straight
easily.
on now, yeah.
Easily, mate, easily. First question I've got then comes in from Sheps. I like this question actually. Based on Klitschko getting mildly disturbed by a Pulev jab, Twitter has went apeshit and firmly believe AJ destroys Vladimir Klitschko. Question: how much crack does a normal-sized human have to consume before seriously considering this as a possibility? Donnie.
A lot of crack.
I mean, it did that. I was actually seeing some comment. I was getting involved in that retweet kind of game again. Actually, just retweeting all these people that are saying that AJ destroys Vladimir Klitschko.
Some of them are fantastic.
It's not something that's outside the realm of possibilities in a couple of years. No. But I mean, the experience gap is just so wide that anybody who says that without being like silly, I really can't even take their opinion seriously. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous.
It's just when you see a tweet from someone where they say Vlad needs to man up and fight Joshua, you just think, what's the point?
I think I saw one earlier. It was the best one. Vlad hasn't beaten anyone in years. Vlad needs to man up and fight Joshua, Fury, and Hay. Isn't he already beat Hay?
And the thing is, a lot of these British fans, what they're saying now, they were saying about Hay. They were saying that Vlad will never fight Hay because he can't take the speed and power. He'll duck him. When he fights him, he'll get knocked out in 2 rounds. Then he beats him. Hay's forgotten about Nate's anti-Joshua. And if anti-Joshua ties feet, he'll always be someone else. And, he'll just keep carrying on. I mean, I think everyone likes Joshua, but some of the hype, I think these fans are... Sky's bullshit is really working with them.
Does anybody actually believe that AJ at this moment could destroy Vladimir Klitschko? I mean, obviously, the kid's got the tools. I mean, he's obviously a work in progress. He's got plenty of time on his side. He's maybe going to wait until Klitschko gets a little bit older. The right hand, I think, obviously, as well as he's got the power to, anybody could hurt Klitschko, I think. But is he going to be good enough to actually put him away or get into distance?
Well, if Pulev can rock him with a jab,
yep.
Why can't Joshua rock him with a jab and knock him out?
I just wonder if maybe Joshua would be aggressive. I mean, what is it? He must be the same height as Vlad. So it'd be interesting to see if you just go for it. I mean, there's no point in trying to box Klitschko, I don't think. I think you just got to go to him and fucking rough him up.
Yeah.
The thing is, these people who say about Joshua could, not even beat Vlad, destroy Vlad. The fact is, his promoter says he destroyed Chisora and Fury as well. I think it's kind of disrespectful to these guys when you're fighting Michael Sprott next. Well, let's see you fight someone worth a damn. Everyone says the division's shit. We'll fight someone worth a damn. Let's see how Anthony Joshua reacts to getting hit on the chin, because this was all said about David Price. He'd destroy Vlad, he'd destroy Hay. Once he's hit on the chin, he's forgotten about.
There we go. Kurt, I think Asif's going to come on. Is that right, mate?
Yeah, I think we got someone called Damien who coming on first.
Damien. That Del Boy's son by any chance, no?
Could be.
Tommy back here, no?
Yeah, fuck that.
So waiting on Damien joining the call. I think he's on just now. Oh, he's just... Damien, you there, mate?
Yes, sorry, I'll just turn this off, mate. Yeah, no, it was just a wee question there to Steve. I was covering the Macklin fight last night as well, and the Gertie fight. Whenever I was coming home, I got the tram to the bus station, and there was a guy standing there with like a monkey hat on, and I was sort of asking him, how did you have the fight? But I was just wondering, see, Steve, how did you have the fight, mate?
I thought that Carroll was 1-2 rounds to 1, but I was in the minority. Everyone else seemed to think that Geraghty was winning, and Geraghty was actually up on the referee scorecard, 30-28.
That's exactly what I was going to say to you, because even whenever he got the cut, he sort of the referee looked like he was trying to stop the fight. But as I was saying about the guy I bumped into at the bus station, I was asking him, was he at the fight? And he actually turned around and told me that he was the referee. So I was like, right, happy days. I was asking him, so I was sitting talking away to him, and he told me that he had Gertie up as well, and I sort of had a bit of an argument with him at the bus stop, sort of saying, because you deducted a point, how did you give the second and third round to Gertie whenever he was getting knocked all over the place? And he sort of wasn't able to give me an answer, so I don't know, I just thought that there was going to be a robbery on the card in that one. And as for Macklin, he needs to retire, because if anyone thinks that he's going to even get past Andy Lee, or he even mentioned Martin Murray, I can't even see how Matthew Macklin can go past 4 rounds now, because he just looks spent. And he wasn't even, to me personally, from where I was sitting, he didn't even look like he was putting in that much, as much as work rate that he normally puts in his fights. And after 4 rounds, he just looked like he just gassed. His legs just looked stiffened up, and I suppose that's all she wrote with that one.
Macklin said after the fight, actually, that there was some slight wee niggle or some wee issue during camp. Does anybody know the rumour or what's been happening behind closed doors?
No, I thought beforehand they were saying everything had gone well and this was his last chance saloon, and I didn't hear any rumours of any injuries now, to be honest.
To be honest, I think what he was trying, he was about 3 seconds away from trying to crack an excuse, and then he sort of just clicked onto himself, and then he didn't bother. But I think that he was going to try and sort of make an excuse. But at the end of the day, the guy was too fast, and it was just a bit embarrassing. I think after about the 4th round, I watched it back today as well, and was listening to the scores this guy had. But me and a couple of the guys that were sort of sitting together were sort of, I had it in the end, getting in, I think 7-2, get into that 10th round, and I think I gave Macklin the 1st round and maybe the 6th. And the 6th, that was just sort of a pity round, but I thought he just got battered from pillar to post. It was just embarrassing.
Final question, mate. What did you make of my opinion was a pointless fight for John Joe Nevin. I mean, he's fought far better than that in the amateurs, obviously, but that was a nothing fight for him there last night.
Well, to be honest, mate, from what happened to him, the same thing happened to Eamon McGee. That's what I was saying to the guy beside me. That whenever Eamon McGee had, he got that head in that time, and he sort of couldn't use his legs for a while. It was his first fight coming back from that. As far as I know. So obviously that they're going to have to put him in. With a couple of guys like that, especially just get his name back out there. But it was hard. I think it was his 3rd fight. His 3rd win. So I wasn't really expecting a competitive fight there. It was just get John Joe Nevin out into Ireland first of all, and the reception he got was great, even the same. So I wasn't really fussed. It was just good to see him. To be honest, it's good to even see him walk again, never mind even actually getting into a boxing ring again. So I had no problems with that at all.
What about Spike? Who do you want to see him fight next?
Oh God, I don't know. Well, he's definitely not going to get the Macklin fight, because Macklin he'll retire before he goes to that. But I think he'll get the loser of the Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank Jr. But I think maybe Billy Joe Saunders will get that. And if he does, then I think that him and Chris Eubank Jr. I think that's a fight that's probably about that could be made out either that or else Eamon O'Kane would probably be a decent fight as well. I would take Spike Mulligan over that because Eamon O'Kane looked terrible in that last Frampton card.
Yeah.
Anyway,
discuss, mate?
No. I said it was just ringing up just because it was just funny enough talking to that referee last night. I never even recognised him because he was wearing this funny hat, and just the way we had it, I thought everyone from where I was sitting thought that Gertie was getting sort of taught a lesson, but it looked like the referee was looking for an excuse to stop it because of the cut. And the trainer was going crazy. It wasn't on TV, but I think Steve will tell you as well that the trainer was giving it to the referee, screaming at him.
That's Pascal Collins. That's Steve Collins, his brother. Yeah, he was giving. He was shouting at the referee, "Don't you dare stop this! Don't you dare stop this!" Because he was trying to get the doctor up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And even the referee said to me standing at the bus stop, it was a pretty bad cut, and I says, but it was at the side of his forehead. Like it wasn't really that bad a cut. I says, and Gertie was cut too at the top of the head. I says, and so you never actually got the doctor up to look at his. And he's like, I know, but and he's, I don't know, he just had that look about him that it's because I think the winner of that fight is getting in the prize fighter.
Prize fighter, that's right.
Yeah, so I think that they were pushing for Gertie to get in the prize fighter, and also the thing as well. Like, sorry, I'll just finish up with this here. The Gertie, after he hit him an elbow and got a point deducted. And straight after that, obviously everybody will sitting with us thought, right, well, he has to get the stoppage here because, that's points wise, he's going to get beat. And the referee at the bus stop was telling me that no, he still had him ahead after that. But he actually hurt Jono. And instead of just going ahead and finishing it off, he just done that Victor Ortiz headbutt for no reason.
That's exactly what it reminded me of, the way he dived at Carroll and threw him onto the ropes and then followed in with the head. It was exactly like what Ortiz did against Mayweather.
Yeah, but the thing was, John, he was actually hurt, and we were saying that Gertie could have actually finished him. Well, it looked like he had an opportunity to finish him, but instead he just stuck ahead on him, and it was just stupid. And he did deserve to get disqualified.
That was very strange. I'll say one final thing to you, Damien. Actually, before you go, just as well you didn't pick a row with the referee because David Irving was a former professional and he was a big puncher in his day.
I know him. I've seen he refs in the Gavanage up in Belfast here, so he does. That's what I just didn't recognise him at the bus stop, but it was funny anyway. But here, lads, enjoy the rest of your podcast. I'll listen away. No
worries, mate.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
I think we've also got Rocco. He's coming on as well.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
Tommy, they want you to do your Bellew impression as well.
But you came out with that last week, mate, eh?
Simple as that.
You fucking rat. Just to let the listeners know, while we're waiting on the Rocco coming on, is we'll have an interview with Dave Caldwell being released next Wednesday coming up. Rocco, you there, mate?
Hello, mate. All right, mate?
I'm not bad. What's on your mind?
Right. Yeah, no, all good. No, I just wanted to say, I mean, a lot of people said it, but Macklin losing last night. I haven't actually seen that card yet. I've seen the Klitschko one, but I ain't got round to seeing that one yet. But like a lot of people saying, it's just such a shame with the four of them that sat there and done that gloves are off thing a year ago, and was promised, a sort of like round robin thing, the four of them, and not one fight between them.
I caught this, some of that, what do you call it? What was the name of that programme again you were talking about?
The gloves are off, wasn't it? Was it the gloves?
Yeah. He was talking about the middleweights one, though,
Yeah.
I was breathing in the bloody... Sorry, mate, I missed that there. My mic cut out there again, mate. On you go.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, all that, like, the four of them, and they could have all made really good money, and, they was talking about it like, oh, it's going to be this generation's version of Ben Eubank Collins and all that, and not one fight between them, and now it doesn't look like we are going to get one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was really disappointing. We did mention that. I think it was you, Steve, as well, as obviously Barker pulled out Mr. Glass I even remember...
Glass hip.
Eh?
Mr. Glass hip.
Yeah, I remember actually as well. I remember Macklin said if they beat Golovkin, they wouldn't even be guaranteed that he would actually face the likes of Martin Murray and stuff. You know, was it maybe, Steve, is it maybe kind of hard to say that maybe Macklin had, you know, placed himself on a pedestal higher than what he thought he was on?
Could be the case. I think he has spoken in those terms in the past, yeah, like he wants to be sort of the A side, not in a prima donna kind of way, but yeah, maybe he does see himself like that. I mean, he's probably fought the best opposition of the group, but I always group them in together. I just wanted to see them fight. You see all this business about, you know, they haven't done this, they haven't done that. I think they're all pretty evenly matched fighters. I would have liked to have seen them just get in there and sort it out.
Yeah, that gloves are off. I mean, Barker had it. I think he'd won the world title by then, but I don't know if he fought Stone. I can't remember when it was filmed, but Barker was sort of like easy going. He was like, you know, I've done it and I'm happy with what I've done. Andy Lee just come across as, yeah, you know, I'm happy, I'll fight anyone. The sort of like real beef was between Macklin and Murray. Like, I agree with you, Macklin sort of come across, I like Macklin, but he was sort of like saying, well, you know, I'm a bit better known like in America because I've had a few fights on there, and Murray didn't like it. And there was the sort of like beef between them two, really. The other two were sort of like up for fighting whoever, but yeah, it's just a shame, isn't it? That again, it's all like, oh, let it marinate, and we'll all go our different ways, and we'll all try and win a world title, and all that crap, and they should have just had the fucking fights. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all done at the money end of the day as well, mate, I suppose. You know, who was going to take the short end of the purse, basically. I'm disappointed, obviously. I mean, I think the one fight, obviously, the Irish would want to see was obviously the Andy Lee, Matthew Macklin fight, but obviously it's never going to happen there anyway, so... Anything else you want to discuss, mate?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I don't... Depending on how he gets on against Korobov, let's say he loses. Does anyone want to see that now? Like... Andy Lee against the sort of like well over the hill, well, not well over the hill, but, you know, sort of like past it. Macklin, do you want to see these fights, you know, other than, like, I mean, there's loads, isn't there? But other than the obvious one, and there's plenty of them, where, like, they've left it too long, and now they're, like, over the hill. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit like as well, I mean, I'm not going to obviously liken them to it, but I remember as well as the length of time it took, obviously for, like, Tyson against Lewis, the rubber match between Duran and Leonard, for instance. You know, that fight could have been made way sooner before it was made, something like 7 years after the rematch. But it's disappointing. Rocco, I believe, am I right in saying this, that you're wanting to mention the Hearn interview? Is that right?
Yeah. What I wanted to say was, I thought it was very good. I thought I thought you all done very well. It come across well. He's mentioned it a couple of times now. He mentioned it in the thing after the show yesterday. So I think he enjoyed it. And it all went to plan. It all went how I thought it would. I mean, Eddie's like, he's a salesman. Do you know what I mean? He's a salesman, and, you know, he's in front of the camera all the time. He's got that sort of like politician about him where whatever you hit him with, I mean, and he obviously come on prepared. Do you know what I mean? But whatever you hit him with, he's always got an answer for it, or if he can't answer it, he'll sort of like fire a question back at you. So, you know, I thought you all did well, sort of like, you know, trying to get at him. But a couple of things. I mean, one of the things I don't know if you picked up on it last week when you were talking about it, but not to go over the pay-per-view and blah, whether it is, but I think Tommy said to him about pay-per-view, and he went, well, he went, this card, you know, it's the card. He went, next year, he went, I won't be putting on pay-per-views like this. And when he said like this, I took it to mean like with a stacked card. But then in another breath, when he was talking about, he also said, oh yeah, next year, you know, the sort of fights I'm trying to make, like, you know, Quigg Frampton, Froch Chavez, he mentioned Froch Golovkin, Groves, the Gal, Price, Fury. He mentioned all them, and then he said, well, like with Frotch, like when you brought up the undercards for his pay-per-views, and he said, like, well, basically, you know, well, I can't remember the exact words, but it was along the lines of, well, you know, Frotch don't want to spend money on putting on, like, a decent undercard, because that's money coming out of his pocket. Words to that effect, anyway, basically. But yeah, and he didn't. I don't think you actually asked him how many pay-per-views next year, and obviously that all depends on how results go. But if he makes the fights that he was talking about, every one of them, he sort of said, was a pay-per-view fight. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we basically told him that none of those fights were pay-per-view worthy, in all honesty. I mean, Tommy, mate, I think you says to him as well, I think he actually picked up your comment wrong, Tommy, when you says it's one of the worst pay-per-view cards in recent memory, and he says, I think he kind of chinned you on that one, didn't he?
He thought I said it was the worst, didn't he?
Aye.
That's it. So it's definitely alongside that. I wouldn't exactly say it's the worst, but it's definitely alongside some of them, isn't it?
I was still getting people tweeting me saying, how can you say it's the worst show ever? And I was saying, well, actually listen to it. That's not what was said.
Well, he's good at twisting. He's good at twisting your words and that, and like, you know, try to use them against you. I says to him too about Paraban and Gonzalez, and he says Paraban would smash Gonzalez, but what I'm saying is they're both around the same level. You know, they're B-level fighters, aren't they? Both of them.
Yeah, I just thought that. But it was between the lines of like what he said answering one question and then what he said in another was like basically that next year there won't be any pay-per-view cards like this, and what he meant by was like basically stacked full of names, but there could well be 6 pay-per-view cards, but there'll just be like one main fight. Pardon you. One main fight and then like a shit undercard like there was with Frotch Groves 1 and the Kessler 1. Do you know what I mean? So it's all up in the air, but it won't surprise me. Depends if he can make them fights. But he basically sort of said like if he makes them fights, Quigg, Frampton and obviously Groves to Gal and Frotch. If Chavez, whoever fights next year, that is going to be pay-per-view. Brooke Khan, Brooke, whoever. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do think this is a test in the water thing. And one more thing. He sort of went when you brought up about like hardcore fans and casuals. Like he said. And I've heard it said before, and he sort of said, well, look, how many, like these so-called hardcore fans, how many hardcore boxing fans, like when I say hardcore, other than blokes who support a football team, and if they're in on a Saturday night, they might go, oh, yeah, there's boxing, like, it's that Baloo, isn't it? It's Baloo and the Welsh geezer. Oh, yeah, we'll order that. It's only 15 quid. Like, how many, like, hardcore boxing fans are there in this country? Do you know what I mean? I think he said about 100,000, 150,000, but I don't know if 1 million people ordered Frotch Groves too. So there's another 800,000 what you would class as casuals, yeah? Of varying degrees of, you know. So basically, he doesn't give a shit what the likes of us think about it being pay-per-view, because we're boxing fans. I mean, I ain't going to order it because I work. I'm not on principle and because I work. But, you know, if I didn't, you'd sit there and you think, well, I'm a boxing fan. I want to watch it. It's only 15 quid. But we're not his target audience. And he said that. His target audience is the bloke who watches football, comes in on a Saturday night, and will watch whatever's on, whether it's the darts final or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That 800,000 people, they're the ones he's trying to hook, because they're the ones that will pay 15 quid and listen to all the bollocks and believe it. Do you get what I mean?
Yep, exactly, mate. Yeah, you're bang on right. Obviously, the pubs and that, he's targeting them as well. You can get £500 a pop, I think it is, for a pub to buy these pay-per-view fights. So he's pretty much, he doesn't really care about about hardcore fans like yourself, it's pretty much geared towards the casuals, isn't it?
Yeah, because he knows that people like us will watch it on other ways, other methods. He's after the Joe Bloggs who watches the X Factor, who watches I'm a Celebrity, who watches football, who sticks Sky Sports News on, is a football fan, a rugby fan, whatever, and they just, when it's a big fight, because they're told it's a big fight on Sky Sports News, they're the ones that get hooked on it. Like, we was, as someone said the other week, we was all casual fans once. We all got into it, but the sort of people I'm talking about, sort of football fans who don't mind a bit of boxing. They're the ones who he's aiming for. Do you know what I mean?
My dad actually mentioned to me yesterday. Actually, he says, "What's this boxing event they've got coming up shortly?" I says, it's come up on pay-per-view." He says, who is it? Saying it's some Scouse cunt with another guy whose beard blends into his hair." I says, it's Bellew against Cleverly. He says, "How the fuck are they in pay-per-view? Who the fuck are they?" That's what his exact words. Who the fuck are they?
They're two guys who don't like each other.
They hate each other.
Pay-per-view.
Simple as that.
Hate each other.
Anyway, Rocco, we need to dive, mate. We've got another
Go on, mate. Yeah, no worries. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, mate.
Just on it.
All right, geezer.
I wanted Tony to give us his best Bellew impression.
I haven't seen him going to fucking kill the cunt. I think we've got Asif coming on. Asif coming on. That's just what he mentioned there. Actually, I've got a question here from Adrian, just basically relating to the casual fans and the hardcore fans as well. So we've got Asif coming on just now. He's a big heavyweight fan. Asif, mate, are you there?
Yep. Let me just put that on mute 1 second. Hiya.
How you doing, mate? What you want to discuss?
I shan't be too long. Just very quickly. Excellent night last night with the Klitschko victory. I just want to quickly talk about that, really. I think it was an excellent performance by him. I think he started off, he actually put in a lot of effort on this in this fight. I think he started off in about 5th, 6th gear after that first jump by Pulev. In the last few fights, Klitschko, you can tell he's not boxing out of his skin. He's just in 2nd, 3rd gear. But in this fight, I think he knew he couldn't fight the 2nd gear, which is why he put on a good performance. I think with the Kubrat Pulev, he came to fight. And I think that's what made it for a spectacle. He didn't come to survive. And if he came to survive, that could have gone 12 rounds. But I think because he gave it a go, it's what made it what it was, really. And I actually enjoyed the whole build-up as well with the entrances. They're always good in Germany. And the whole build-up was good as well. So I think it was a good night. And it was, I know quite a few people were saying, could it be something to do with HBO? I'm not too sure because Klitschko's main market is in Germany. I mean, I think they were saying that so many millions of people sit down on the normal TV when they fight. A lot of people watch their fight on the TV. A lot more than they would in the States. They get a lot more views on an RTL than they would on HBO. So I don't think it's that important. That's one of the first things I'd probably say.
See the. Well, just I don't know if you agree with what I says. Do you think if Vlad turns round and actually ends up fighting Briggs, do you expect him and should he get a lot of shit for taking that fight?
He should get a lot of shit for taking that fight, which is why I don't expect him to take that fight. He won't fight Shannon Briggs. Shannon Briggs, if you remember, after Vitaly Klitschko demolished him, the next day in the hospital bed, he was calling out for a rematch. So it's not the first time Shannon Briggs has called out for a rematch. But no, I don't think he'll fight Shannon Briggs. I know some people think he will, but Vladimir Klitschko knows he's not got that time. And he knows beating Briggs doesn't add to anything. And I think he wants to hurt Briggs, but I think he hurts Briggs more by not hurting him.
Yeah. Thing is, well, I think I heard Pulev saying last night he wanted a rematch.
Yeah,
I don't know how you get a rematch after getting iced like that, you know?
Yeah, Pulev, to be honest, I was pretty disappointed with that all the way, really, before the build-up, not coming to the press conference. And then, obviously, he said a few things about the drug testing after he signed the contract. He's mentioned, he said a few things about the gloves. I mean, these are things that were signed in the contract before, so I don't know. I think Pulev's attitude disappointed me, really, especially after the fight as well. If he, I actually gave Pulev credit. He came to fight. He came to fight, and he actually, for a long time, there's a boxer who actually gave Vladimir a few punches. I don't think it's been since Samuel Peter a boxer actually touched Klitschko's face. You know what I mean? So I was pretty disappointed by that. Yeah, but he'll be back. He'll come back, and I'm sure he'll have another title shot somewhere in Germany, because he's in the Howland, and they've got David Price as well. So I think he'll be back.
No problem, mate. Anything else you want to discuss with us?
Yeah. I'm just going to stick to the heavyweights. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about the Irish card. I didn't watch it. I could quickly comment. I think Matthew Macklin should retire now, but that's about it, really. Just with regards to the couple of things, really, the heavyweight future and Anthony Joshua. This Anthony Joshua, hopefully, being a Brit, I hope he does well in the future. But I think there's too many people who have been watching IFL TV, and they're falling on the hype train. I mean, I love IFL TV. I think they're good, but I think Anthony Joshua, like I said, if he's that good, he shouldn't be fighting Michael Sprock. But like I said, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't think he'll fight Klitschko. I don't think Eddie Hearn will wait and put him in for Klitschko. They'll wait for Klitschko to retire. And I think he'll continue to fight people he can beat. And just with regards to the heavyweight future, I know Bert Bunter, Klitschko's coach, he mentioned about wanting Klitschko to come on possibly in March or April, which is a quick turnaround, which is quite good. They're looking at 3 cities, so they're looking at a fight either at the Madison Square Garden in Germany or at the Barclays Arena. I don't know where that is. But the 2 fighters they're looking at, possibly Brian Jennings and possibly the winner of Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora. I think the WBO president said that Vladimir has to fight the winner of them two by June. Okay? So that could be done in Germany, and plus, we'll know the winner in a couple of weeks. Brian Jennings is obviously on HBO, so that's a fight that's easily made. And I think that will be a good fight, because we can also get we can also see another heavyweight, Mike Perez on the undercard. I think that will be a good fight. Brian Jennings, he's not really stepped up that much. He's got a couple of good wins. He's beaten Artur Spilka, and he beat Mike Perez on a split decision. So I think he's good, Brian Jennings. He's got an enormous reach. He's got an 84-inch reach, which is 4 inches bigger than Vladimir. But like I said, I expect Vladimir to win that comfortably. With regards to the winner of Steven and Wilder, I really want Steven to win, because then we can see Vladimir against Steven. If Deontay Wilder wins, we're not going to see that fight, because Wilder's under Al Heyman, and Al Heyman's looking to go to NBC. So I don't see that happening, really. And just with the future of the heavyweights, I mean, it's okay. There's a few decent contenders out there. I don't think they'll win, but I think hopefully they're going to start fighting each other. And I don't see anyone right now who can come close to beating Vladimir Klitschko. Pulev was the closest, and look what happened to him.
Definitely.
And that's about it, really.
No problem, mate. Thanks a lot for your detailed breakdown there.
No problem. And thanks for having us on again.
No problem, mate. Call back in again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate. Always good to get another heavyweight expert on the call. Next question coming up here, if I can get my bloody internet to work. YouTube's causing major problems tonight for some reason. Fucking wankers. Right, next question coming from Adrian. Now, it kind of covers a question that we got. I think was it Rocco maybe mentioned it. How can you make the leap from casual fan to a hardcore boxing fan, Donnie? Donnie, wake up.
Casual fan.
Casual.
No. What's that? I'm sorry, Andy.
How can you make the leap from a casual fan to a hardcore boxing fan?
I mean, it's usually stars. Stars do that. You know what I mean? Someone watches an exciting. I think that I've successfully gotten a girl that I was dating to watch Golovkin. Right? I mean, things like that. I mean, they see somebody that's exciting or with a compelling backstory, and they root for them, and then they watch them fight. I mean, it's that simple.
Tommy, you've not seen any fights, mate, so are you slipping back into the casual fan mode?
I've watched some of Vlad. I'm going to check the fight shoot tomorrow. But to answer the question, it's quite simple. Watch fights. Watch all the fights.
Yeah, I mean, I know someone who's watched boxing for 20 years, but he's a casual fan. You know, he won't know anything about anyone. You know, not known as a big star. He won't. You know, he only watches the very biggest fights. You know, your Hatton Mayweather type fights. He's been a casual fan for years.
Is his name Ben Wiseman?
Well, it could be, but he, someone like him will know certain things. You can talk to him about boxing, but I think with certain casual fans now, and I think the ones that are getting some stick are more Matchroom casual fans, where they only really deal with Matchroom, and they're like, on Eddie Hearn's ballsack all the time, and they'll shit on Frank Warren, they'll shit on anyone else who says anything about Hearn, and I think they're the casual fans that are annoying. I don't think it's, people can watch as much as they want, people can watch every single fight, or people can watch, a fight now and again, but it's the ones who are all on Matchroom. I think they're the ones that have got more annoying over the last few months, in my opinion.
Well, here, just to play devil's advocate then, so if some of these guys who are going on about Matchroom and blah, 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 you see them on Facebook and that, and they're going to all the Matchroom shows, and they're travelling the length and breadth of the UK to go to these shows, are they still casuals or are they hardcores?
I'd say what my point was going to be was that what defines you isn't just the amount of fights you watch or what extent you go. I think it's the way you seek out information about the sport and sort of interest you take into outside of just fights. I mean, a lot of us guys will be reading some articles about it, be looking at more information about these fighters instead of just watching these fighters or the fighters exactly. And I think that's what makes the difference between the guy who always watches Matchroom fights purely because it's just Matchroom, whereas someone else will just look for other places to find fights and look into the background of those fights.
That's a decent enough comment, that one, actually, aye.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there any herniacs on here now? None.
Well, Adam's not with us today.
Yeah, Adam.
No, that's because he's got a self-contained flat up Eddie Hearn's arse.
I mean, look at the Klitschko fight's a perfect example. They're looked upon as events. A lot of those people that go to those fights, they're not boxing fans, but they'll go to the Klitschko fight when the Klitschko fight is in town. You can get people there that have been to every Klitschko fight over the past 10 years, but they know next to nothing about the sport. They only know about Klitschko or the event itself. And to me, they're casual fans, yeah. But the ones who will go on Twitter and wherever they go and, they'll just repeat anything that Eddie Hearn says or, and just be against, to me, they're not boxing fans, they're Matchroom fans.
I'm just reading some of the Mixler comments, actually. It looks like we've kind of stirred it up a wee bit here, eh?
Come on, Scotland!
We're fucking meltdown in Glasgow. Right, here we go. I think we've actually kind of covered this one slightly. I think Steve and Alex and myself maybe passed comment on this one, but Martin Hurry actually asks, even though it won't happen because of boxing politics, who wins now and how, between Butler and Yafai, Tommy?
Butler and Yafai, I like Paul Butler, but I'd really
Defy's
see,
massive at the weight,
he,
though.
he is bigger than him, definitely bigger than him. I need to see, I wish he had a fight tasted. Paul Butler's proved himself at a bigger level, hasn't he? At a higher level. So I like to see somebody like you fight tasted. So I'd go with Butler right now, but that could change in the future.
Kurt?
I mean, Butler's the one who's been testing. He's come through the test, but I still think when Yafai gets a test, I think he's going to look really good and pass it. And I think he's a special talent, to be honest, and I think he probably would beat Butler. But Butler's a very good fighter as well.
Yafai was a better amateur.
What was he, a bantamweight at amateur level, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was.
Guy's massive, man. Well, I can't remember who I was talking to last night. Well, I think it was maybe John Evans. He says that he makes that weight pretty comfortably, actually, which is, I find it weird because he's massive for the weight.
He's huge, isn't he?
Yeah. Manassa Moller asks, Steve, have you missed out on a series of potential great fights between this generation of British and Irish middleweights?
Yes. We're on the verge of missing out because they're already starting to sort of go past their peak and that now. I remember a situation back in about 2000 where we had a load of good light middleweights, if you remember, on the domestic scene. I mean, there were no world beaters, but it was guys like Steve Roberts, and this was before Jamie Moore came along, Michael Jones and Takaloo, Anthony Farnell. They actually fought each other. There was a fair few of them, and it was the whole... Yeah, Wayne Alexander was another one. I'm sure there was a couple of other names, can't remember off the top of my head, but they were decent sort of fighters. Even Eamon McGee was sort of, around that sort of weight as well. And Sky were doing the old WBU, IBO sort of fights back then. And I remember Steve Roberts, I think, was the IBO champion, and Alexander was WBU. Anyway, instead of just fighting each other, it was this whole, let's build them up, let's sort of, get them in. And they got picked off one by one. Richard Williams, that was another one. He got beat by Martinez. Steve Roberts lost to somebody, and they all got beaten one by one, and the fights never happened. Now, if people are saying let the fight simmer and it's like a big massive world title fight or whatever, you can sort of understand it. Or if it's going to be guys who are going to go somewhere. But for the guys like them back then, why not just chuck them in against each other for the British title or whatever? And then it was all lost. The fights never happened.
I've always agreed with that point. Why not stick them in early? You can always build a rematch of them later on,
Yeah.
When things get bigger and better, So.
Well, look at Richard Williams, for example, who I mentioned there. He fought Paul Samuels early on, and that was a great fight. And then they had a rematch, and it was another good fight. But for some reason, they're going about building the fights up. Even DeGale and Groves, they chucked them in nice and early, and now they've sort of built themselves back up again. Yep. It's not the be-all and end-all. Let them fight. Get them in while they're at a reasonable level, and let them scrap it out.
Exactly, and DeGale Groves, that rematch will be huge if it's made. They'll obviously stick that in pay-per-view as well, but...
If you're good enough, you'll get back to the level again.
Yeah, correct.
Just going to have a quick look actually at middleweight just now, just to see what we've got. I mean, obviously you've got the Saunders Eubank fight coming up. I think Nick Blackwell, he got a draw, I think, against Kaminsky, then he was out again there at the start of this month. He got an 8-round decision. John Ryder's back, but Patrick Mendy's getting used as cannon fodder usually.
They're on about John Ryder possibly fighting Highlands in January or something.
Right. Obviously got Eamon O'Kane as well. I mean, that technical draw didn't look all that great though, mate, did it?
No. He's going to fight Jermaine Taylor for the IBF middleweight title. You watch.
Next question. Sean Connolly. I'll go to you, Tommy, with this one. Was Bellew sticking up for you boys laying into Bunsey during the week there?
No, I don't think he was. No, I remember the comments that Bunce made, and he was pretty scathing on Tony. There's been a wee bit of a beef in the past between them as well.
Tony deserved it though.
Well, yeah, but I don't think he was sticking up with us. I'm not going to get him. I'm not going to give Bunce any credit. Bunce's a wanker,
Yeah, Bunce is a wanker, and he deserved getting the slating because he's just a toss spot. But I don't think he was overly critical of Tony. All the hyping up Tony did before the Stevenson fight and all that, and he deserves to be fucking ridiculed.
But I don't think Tony was fighting Frank. Tony was still with Frank Warner.
I made some jokes about Tony. He's never blocked me on Twitter. I made one joke to Bunce and he blocked me straight away.
I know.
Just for saying his interview with Bowie went 6 minutes over.
Block me,
That's all I
block
said.
me as well because you bloody doing that.
I got blocked for asking. What was the guy that hosted that interview? Colin, what's his name? The Irish boy.
I don't know his name.
He's a Man United fan. He used to host BBC 2 Match of the Day.
Colin Murray.
That's the one. Colin Murray. I actually tweeted to Bunce after I heard it. He says, Colin Murray says to Bellew, Bunce is no here because he's away making the tea. So I tweeted Bunce and asked how many sugars does Colin Hamilton take in his fucking tea? He fucking blocked me, the prick.
That official, every member of the Boxing Silver panel has been blocked by Steve, the wanker Bunce.
And the thing is, Bunce said people need to stop having thin skins, and then he goes on his little blocking spray just for having a little joke with him. He's just coming off as a very bitter, sad man.
I think he's waged war against every internet podcast going, hasn't he? He had, remember that American one and that as well? He hated them as well, didn't he?
He wages war against anyone not writing for a newspaper, I think.
He ducked the show as well, didn't he?
Fat bastard.
He didn't want this. And what he said about Jade Goody should never be forgotten, bastard.
Is that a week?
Did you remember seeing that, no?
We watched it live. We were watching it live, Kurt, weren't we? We were on the old site with us in the chat and talking about it. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was quite entertaining, really. It was just a programme of a woman who was slowly dying. That's what I was saying, man. I was like, holy fuck. And the guy who was hosting it, Andy, he was trying to cut him off, wasn't he? Trying to get the subject changed, man. That was hilarious.
He just dug himself a hole and couldn't get out.
Is that a wig? Anybody who wants to check that, it's on YouTube. Just what's the video called again, Kurt?
Steve Bunce legend.
Is that a wig?
Fucking legend.
Carly can come again. Jade can't. Oh, fucking hell, man.
Sick bastard. Sam Chatwin, I think he's covering about the domestic middleweights. Who's most to blame for the gloves are off middleweight domestic clashes not taking place? Greedy Barker, rival promoters. Anybody want to weigh in on that one?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. It's all of them. I mean, if they wanted to make the fights, it would have happened. They just always found excuse. I think they all wanted to get their own title shot and then bout, and then they could demand a bigger purse and, you know, be the A side, and it just never happened. And, you know, obviously Barker won his, but he didn't get past Sturm in his first defence. Just a lot of egos, I think.
Barker could never stay fit, could he? That was the problem, really. I mean, you could never hang your hat on anything with him. Every time you thought a decent fight was going to come along, he went off for so many months.
Next question comes from Jack Rathborn. Brook versus Marquez, quick picks from the panel, and with a combo of pay-per-view and sold out Bramall Lane enough to generate the money to get Marquez over. Alex?
Well, no, I mean, Marquez is turning down, $10 million fucking dollars to fight Pacquiao. He's not going to come over for whatever money Hearn's going to rustle up to fight Brook. But if the fight ever did happen, I'd pick Marquez to win. I don't think Kell Brook's chocolate brownie right hand will do much, even though he's but he's still got left in him.
Donnie?
I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, when would this fight happen? You got a guy coming off of a serious slashing versus a guy who's going to be 42 years old. But by the time they get in the ring, I mean, this is a hard fight to pick. If Brook, and I'm not saying this in like a joking way, but if his legs are still there, I mean, if he could still move on him as well as he has before, I could see him just being, with that long jab and the height and reach advantage and, the youth and the athleticism. I think he'd be able to overpower Marquez at this stage, but that all depends upon what he looks like coming back from this whole stabbing, leg slashing thing.
Steve?
I wasn't listening at the beginning. Sorry, what was the question?
Do you think, Marquez against Brook, who wins? And do you think like a combo of pay-per-view, a fight being at Bramall Lane would be enough? Would generate enough money to get Marquez over here?
It'd be difficult generating the money to get Marquez over here. I think he's superb fighter, but he has a touch of delusion about his own worth, although maybe he's had that many wins, he's entitled to that. Brook could possibly beat him, but I think he'd even give him a tough fight even now. I don't think he'd come over them.
Tommy?
I think Cale would beat him at this point in Marquez's career, and I also know how they could sell out Bramall Lane.
Kurt?
I think, you know how they would sell out Bramall Lane?
Oh no, here we go.
Oh no.
Sit Mike Tyson at ringside with Ched Evans and surround him about 5 or 6 matches, man.
Fucking
the thing with the thing with the Marquez and Pacquiao, I just think Marquez doesn't want to give him another fight because he's got the last laugh on Pacquiao. You know, he's waited for years and he's turned down the money because he doesn't want to go back there, because a loss to Pacquiao now would take away everything that he did again. You know, he wants that title, doesn't he? He wants that title in this division, and so I can see the fight happening, but I can't see Marquez coming over here. I mean, I know it'd be pay-per-view here and probably be on Showtime, I imagine, but I just can't see it happening over here. But if Brook wants to travel for that big fight, and that's a big name, and I think he's a pretty big welterweight, and I just don't see Marquez at this age now. I mean, he's not a big guy, is he, at the weight? So I think it'd be a struggle for him.
I endorse everything Alex said. That I just don't see how they can get enough money to get Marquez over here. I mean, is he actually even going to fight again, regardless of even wanting to fight Brook?
He's going to fight. I think he'll definitely fight again. He'll fight Manny Pacquiao again. What he's trying to do just now is he's trying to make as much money as possible, because he knows Pacquiao will do anything to get that fight, and that's $15-20 million they're waiting on him. He's definitely going to fight on.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, what's Pacquiao got left? You know, and he wants fighter A as well. You know, so.
Yeah.
But it's for Pacquiao as well. I mean, how many opponents has he got left? I mean, there's not a lot of opponents out there for him. I mean, he's fighting Algieri, but the Marquez fight is, you know, we all said our 4th fight, do we want to see it again? But look how good the 4th fight was. I mean, they lost the momentum, because if Marquez was winning, they could have had the 5th fight straight after it, and I think the momentum would have pushed it to do pretty big numbers, to be honest.
That fight does 1.5, 1.4, 1.5 again, once again, if it's made, without a doubt.
With Pacquiao and Marquez?
Definitely. In my opinion, it's just a huge rivalry. And yeah, I think that does great numbers again. It's always done good numbers, hasn't it?
Yeah. Next question is from Daniel Stone. Kurt, Povetkin, Pulev, who wins?
That's a good fight. I think Povetkin's the better fighter, but Pulev's a bigger guy, and I think he's got a good jab. I think that'd be close. It's a tough fight. It's hard to say, but that is one fight that I think everyone would like to see, to be honest.
I think Povetkin's looked really good since losing to Vlad. Obviously, the knockouts of Char and Takam, wasn't it? You know, they were very good performances, I think, from Povetkin. But obviously, we've got to see how Pulev bounces back from this.
Marcus Bellinger has, let me see this, he's got a question. I think it's maybe a twofold question, but I'll open up to everyone. It's the last question before we go to Belly of the Week anyway. If Belen loses and Frotz retires, what would be the panel's third wish from the boxing genie?
Sir Joe to come back and school Andre Ward.
Steve?
Mike Tyson and Ched Evans to double team Jessica Ennis.
Oh, for fuck's sake. For fuck's sake.
I just want to distance myself from him.
What be getting left in?
Mayweather to lose.
Mayweather to lose. Donnie?
Yeah. I don't know if I have a good one for this one. They come back to me.
Alex?
Yeah, come back to me.
For fuck's sake. He's not very kind of creative, are he? Kurt?
I'd like to see Browner, as Tony Bellew says, iced, to be honest.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
That was a good one, actually. I just want to see Adonis Stevenson. Looking, not going to say here, eh? Duck Honest, he's a bitch. I tell you what, he's a bitch. He's just duck. I tell you what, I hope this guy that he's fighting, this Russian that he's fighting, I hope he destroys him.
I got my wish. Al Heyman gets hit by a bus.
Oh God. Anyway, Marcus Bellinger also goes on. He also goes on and says, secondly, isn't it time that this marinating a big domestic fight until for a world title be stopped? Case in point being the three middleweights who we won't see matched up against each other. I'll tell you another one actually who we never got to see was Lopez against Gamboa. Remember that one? That was Aram again fucking about.
Well, I think it's credit to Billy Joe Saunders, to be honest. I mean, we're seeing the fight that we want to see coming up, but that's really because of Billy Joe. I mean, he doesn't really have to take the fight. He's levels above Eubank in terms of where he is in his career. But, you know, because of the rivalry, he doesn't like the guy. He's taking the fight on when, you know, he was close to a world title shot by all accounts. So I think, you know, it's a credit to him to take this fight. Eubank will jump at it, and it's just a shame that the other guys didn't say, you know what, I want to prove I'm the best in the country or whatever, and I want to beat you. And look at the rivalries we've had, you know, Ben and Eubank, for instance. But for whatever reason, it never happened. It's just to get a world title. It's just, you know, we missed out on some good fights.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it in. Are we leaving that bit in, are we?
I think we should cut your bit out, Andy. That was horrible. Leave it in, man. Leave it in.
Anyways, coming up next is the world esteemed and well now known Value of the Week segment.
Fucking right.
Chris is going to get the intro playing just now, just for the listeners to hear it again. I think we've actually someone tweeted it out to Nathan Clearley to actually enter the ring with us playing in the background.
He should do it, but he won't. He should do it though. He needs to.
Wind them right up.
Now you fucking rat!
So, we're back. Well, Mr. Bellew's back. His award is back. I don't know if Buncey's going to be up this week for it. What do you think, lads? But I've got 4 nominations so far on my own this week. First one goes to Nathan Cleverly. He's basically talking about the Bellew rematch. He says it's the biggest fight in the division. My eyes opened up there widely just as I read that out there. You know, the biggest fight in the division. Oh, what a shite. I forgot to get this guy's name actually. Who's Anthony Mundine's promoter? Is it Ben Thompson his name is? You see after the Rabchenko win, he says, we're going to bring Mayweather and Alvarez to Australia. You need to actually offer Mayweather the natural resource wealth of fucking Australia to get him over there. Keith Furman. apparently Leonard Bundu is the closest thing to Floyd Mayweather.
In age, maybe.
Well, he's black.
Are we talking Floyd Mayweather Senior?
And my other nomination goes to Andy Raymond, who is the Aussie commentator on that Mundine fight. He says Mundine is doing this all against the odds. Really?
They love their hyping of Mundine, don't they?
Oh my God.
I suppose he is, really, if you think about it. Everybody seems to hate him, so...
I wish Matty was on the show. Matty would be going absolutely radio rental on that fight. But anyways, Alex, you got any nominations, mate?
I saw a comment earlier on from the esteemed Ellie Sekbak saying that he thought that Andre Berto would beat Pacquiao. He's got the speed and the power to beat Manny Pacquiao.
Is this an old interview?
No, this morning.
So there we go. Ellie Foreskin gets put up. Donnie, mate, you got anything?
That Keith Thurman one, I don't know. Pretty damn. It's gonna be hard to beat this week.
Steve, you got anything, mate?
Not really, but whoever put that Klitschko undercard on Saturday needs a lot to answer for.
I know. I didn't watch, but did anybody actually watch that fucking card they had on from Latvia on Friday night on Eurosport?
Nope.
Holy fuck! Do you remember that? I forget his name. Is it Killer? His name is Tyson Fury. Knocked him out in 3 rounds. Is that him
that wore the kilt?
Aye. He got iced in 1 round, man. It was like a fucking taller version of Butterbean getting smashed about the fucking place. It was some stoppage, mind you. He got erased in the canvas. Tommy, you got anything, mate?
No, I like Keith Thurman as well. I think that's a belter.
There's no blueprint for Leonard Bundu.
Frankie Gavin beat him. He's not an unbeaten fighter.
Nobody's found one yet, have they?
Nope. Kurt, mate, what you got?
Did anyone see the HBO footage of the Klitschko fight and Lampley was talking about Alfred Abraham of Romania?
Who?
He mentioned Alfred Abraham from Romania. I suspect he was talking about Arthur Abraham, but he seemed to just... I don't know if he'd been drinking before he went on air.
Oh, right. I thought he was talking about Jojo Dan. Alfred Abraham, man. Jesus.
Alfred Abraham. Christ.
Should we give mention to Frank?
He said it like 3 times before he corrected himself. Yeah.
Frank Warren.
Yeah, Frank Warren, Burns case.
Oh, we're going to touch upon that. Donnie, you're our in-house counsel, mate, so you basically 4 warners if we go over the score here.
He forewarned you about the HIV attack on Adam Stevenson.
How worse could we get?
Yeah, what about finally someone found a blueprint, speaking of, to beat Frank Warren in court?
Aye, well, for the first time it seems to be anyway. The stuff. It's supposed to have to be a Scotsman, eh? I'm not. Scotsmen usually get quite a bad reputation for like no parting with their cash. And fucking Burns took it all the way to the High Court. Says no fucking way am I paying you £2 million, you cunt. But I don't know if we should maybe touch upon it in too much detail, just in case the lawyers are listening in. Would you advise, counsellor?
Oh, I just advised them if they're going to sue to name Ben Wiseman as a party.
No, Ben Wiseman Industries.
Yeah, Ben Wiseman Industries Incorporated.
out of Boston, Massachusetts, by the way, just so you know.
Only deals in Jew gold.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, if we're calling Frank Warren a liar, I mean, it's only what the judge called him, isn't it? So we're only repeating the judge's words.
Frank
Did the judge actually say that?
Liar.
Yeah.
Did they say that?
Yep.
Poor Frank. Pray for Frank.
I think we should maybe nominate the certain writer on boxing scene who was slating the red-headed people last week.
Kurt Ward. Apparently the cruiserweight division is a red-headed stepchild. Boxing.
Horrible abuse to ginger people, that one.
And some people weren't happy about it.
I know, but what those people don't seem to realise is that
Kurt's got red hair.
Kurt's not got editorial charge over that article. Basically, he can submit that article and it gets chopped up and he doesn't put the title on for it. boxes
right,
he
yeah.
picked up for him.
And now, thanks to them, I got ginger people wanting to kill me.
Ginger pubes are unacceptable.
he's like Tim Bradley. He got death threats.
Oh shit, I was on mute there, sorry. Right, so who we got? We've got Nathan Cleverley, we've got Mundine's promoter, Keith Thurman, Andy Raymond, the Aussie commentator, and who was the other one?
Jim Lampley.
Ellie Bossack, that was the other one. Ellie Bossack and Jim Lampley. So, Alex, who are you voting for?
I'll go with Keith Thurman for this one.
Keith Thurman. Donnie, you're the same? Keith Thurman?
I am, but honorable mention though to Ellie Ballsack. That was fucking Andre Berto can beat Pacquiao. That's almost as bad.
Steve.
Thurman.
Tommy.
Keith Thurman.
Cut the point. I'm even really asking you, mate, because
It's got to be Thurman. I mean, there's hyping an opponent, and then there's that. I mean, that's just taking it too far. That's a matchroom type hype.
Who's delving into a fucking bag of cereal now?
I've just got a takeaway.
Tommy's attacking it.
I can't get it. It's the biggest calzone I've ever seen in my life. The box takes up like a whole huge bag. I couldn't get it out there.
Hey, Tommy, did you pay 5 pence for the bag, mate?
It's a paper bag, yeah. It's
Aye. Couldn't fucking McDonald's try to charge me 5 pence for a bag the other night there. See, when I got it, it was soaking right through. I ended up fucking fighting with the guy in the fucking restaurant. My 5 pence back.
They probably charged me for it, man.
Fucking wanker. Anyway, Mr. Keith Thurman, you are the Bellew of the Week award winner. Well done, sir.
And he's got a Twitter now, so we could let him know.
Who?
Thurman.
Has he?
Yeah.
So he's had one for a while.
I never knew that. Just to let the listeners know, we're on at almost 2 hours now. Obviously, we've got Dave Caldwell interview coming out on Wednesday. We'll discuss the Bellew Cleverley fight plus some other detail. The fight scheduled for next week, the Ali Rami, I see he's coming into action, 23-0, 23 knockouts. He's got that third fight against Prince Maz. In fact, it's a fourth fight actually.
That's their fourth fight in a row, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
It's a crazy rivalry they got going.
Yeah. Just while we're on the topic, actually, just to let the listeners know, we're going to be planning a live podcast after the fight next Saturday. So if you're interested, just let us know, and we'll be live. I think whatever time I'll be finishing at 11:30 or something.
Yeah, I think Eddie says he's looking the main event to end about 11:30. So
right. So that being the case, next Friday's I don't think there's anything decent coming up next Friday at all, is there? Ray Robinson's back in action, so not really much to discuss there. So anyways, on to next week. So obviously we've got Manny Pacquiao coming in against Chris Algieri, and then obviously we've got that pay-per-view card coming from Liverpool, which everyone knows what's going on with that card. So let's just jump straight to China first, guys. Pacquiao, obviously he's going to be the betting favourite, but my personal thought is he is not going to have an easy time in this fight. Anybody disagree with that?
I think Pacquiao will beat him quite handily, to be honest.
I see a difficult fight potentially for Pacquiao.
I do.
I do as well, actually. I think his movement, his jab, he's got range, he's got height.
Of him.
Size, I mean, honestly, God, I mean, I've noticed this fight's at 144. I think Algieri was really digging his heels in, because I remember Bob Arum saying that negotiations for his fight took for ages. I think they said it lasted something like 12 hours negotiations for his fight. And one of the stumbling blocks was the weight. Algieri wanted it at 147, and I can see why he wanted it at 147 when I've seen the pictures of the two of them together. He is massive, 5'10". That's the same height as me, and he's fighting the fucking light welterweight. That's crazy.
He is a light welterweight, though, isn't he?
Algieri, yeah, but if you got a guy at 5'10", close to 6 feet, you're talking about light middleweight.
Yeah, well, if he made the weight for Provodnikov, he can make the weight for Pacquiao.
Well, it's actually 4 pounds more because he made one.
Exactly. See the problem?
Sorry, Alex, you're breaking up there, mate.
No, I'm just saying I don't see the problem for him. If he can make it for Provodnikov, he's got 4 more pounds for Pacquiao. Mm-hmm. You see him moaning.
Well, he wants it up at 147. He'll probably make that weight better, maybe carry more power, and then the fact as well is he's got the rehydration 24 hours.
Well, he's got no power anyway.
Eh?
He's got no power anyway.
But that's at 140. Maybe he's got the power at 147. You just never know.
How many rounds do you see Algeria winning, lads?
It's just one of those fights where I can see Pacquiao not looking good, even though Pacquiao might win the majority of the rounds or win the fight. I just don't think this is a good style for him. I mean, Algeria's going to be moving all around the ring. I mean, I know Provodnikov got to him early, but he's a good finisher, Provodnikov, and he couldn't finish him, and then he looked bad for most of the rest of the fight, and I just think you don't know how Pacquiao's going to approach it. I mean, he hasn't scored a knockout for a while. He doesn't look the same fighter as he did, a few years back. And when a guy's moving around the ring, and jabbing him, and obviously a massive size difference, is he expecting an easy win? I just think they're taking this fight expecting a comfortable win.
How many rounds do I think? I think maybe he'll win at least maybe. I think he'll win about 3 or 4 rounds. I think he's got it in him. If he doesn't get wiped out, actually. I mean, I think he's got a decent chin. I mean, it takes heart and balls to get up when you're fighting a guy like Provodnikov who just constantly keeps coming at you. I mean, he had a bad eye injury. I mean, it takes balls to keep fighting through that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, his eye looked disgusting at the end of it, and he couldn't see, not a single bit out of that eye, and he was like, well, I still got the lead eye, and he fought his way to a victory in that fight. In a fight that very few people, including myself, gave him a chance to win. I always thought that he was just a ticket seller. He, had drawn very good crowds in Long Island, which is a bunch of basically white suburban boxing fans who aren't really like hardcore fans. They just, they just support him because he's local. And I never saw him actually getting into the ring and taking a big test like that because I thought he was content to make some good, local paydays. But it turns out he was the real thing. He was a good fighter. And let me just tell you this: some of these people saying, "Well, I see Pacquiao dealing with him handily and stuff like that." Okay, maybe so, but let me ask you this: Adam Smith isn't here this week, so I'll be our resident odds guy. But I'll tell you something: I looked at the odds for this fight, and if you know what a parlay is like where if you bet 2 outcomes at the same time happening together, it multiplies the payoff. So if you bet on Algeria to win, and you also bet on the over. I think the over is over 8.5 rounds, right? And you just bet them together. The combined return is over 20 to 1. So, I mean, basically, if you put $100 on Algeria, I think you get paid $2,060 if he wins by decision, which is crazy. I mean, that's just absolutely crazy. I mean, you're telling me there's not even a 1 in 20 chance they wins this fight? I don't believe it. I think that people aren't giving Algeria a chance, and the way betting odds are looking, it looks as if I think he's being criminally underrated. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to win, but I'll tell you this: if I lived in Las Vegas, I think it would be worth a punt, as you guys would say, for $100. Yeah.
I think it's more to do with can he win a decision where the fight's taking place. That's the thing. I mean, he's going to have to fight a real good fight. I mean, I think he can make him look bad and win a few rounds, but whether they'll give him the fight, I'm not too sure, to be honest.
I think he's being vastly overrated here. I mean, it's not as if he schooled Provodnikov. That was a close fight.
Take away the
knockdowns, and it is a schooling, though.
Yeah, but you've got to include the knockdowns, haven't you? I mean, who's to say Pacquiao's not going to knock him on his ass plenty of times? I mean, it was a close fight. It wasn't... Algeria wasn't going in there and he dominated the guy. It wasn't as if he's supremely brilliant. And it's not as if Provodnikov is a tricky boxer himself. It's not as if he's very difficult to figure out either. I mean, yeah, we will probably pick Provodnikov to actually blow this guy out. But... what are we doing? I don't see where people have got this idea that Chris Algieri is going to suddenly really give Pacquiao trouble, aside from maybe Pacquiao slipped so far that he's not going to do so well. But remember, Pacquiao just beat Tim Bradley this year.
Exactly. Is the Algieri as good as he as slick as Tim Bradley? I don't think he is.
He's nowhere near Tim Bradley's level.
Exactly.
Some people are saying, he's going to make Manny look bad. Well, Tim Bradley, won? How many, 4 rounds against Manny? You think fucking Algieri is going to do as good as that?
Alex, you sound very passionate about this, mate.
Yeah, yeah, but
I just don't understand. I see it a lot on Twitter. I see a lot of people saying, Algieri is going to expose Pacquiao. Algieri is going to be the one to do it. Yeah, he could be. Manny could have gone over the hill in the past, 6 months or whatever. But I don't see where it's come from. What, barely beating Provodnikov?
The thing is, though, Manny took Bradley seriously. He won the first fight. Everyone knows he won the first fight, but he didn't get it, and he lost. He officially lost. He knew Bradley was a serious fighter, and he took it seriously. From what I've seen of Roach saying Algieri's nothing, he's not going to give him much fight.
Roach always says that shit though, doesn't he?
I think they're taking this guy lightly, and I think Provodnikov took him lightly as well, and I think it's a mistake.
Steve, you've been very quiet, mate.
Yeah, I'm just deliberating.
You've had like 10 minutes to deliberate.
No, I think Algieri has the potential to give Pacquiao a few problems. I think more to do with Pacquiao is no fighter is obviously the fighter of old, but Pacquiao doesn't seem to have that explosiveness, that power, anymore. He hasn't finished off an opponent in so long, and I just think that Algieri is a big guy, he's strong, and I know he's not a big puncher, but I think if he puts it on Pacquiao, then he's going to give him a few problems. I don't think he'll win the fight, I think Manny will win, but I do definitely think Algieri is a reasonable enough opponent. I was quite impressed with what I saw in the Provodnikov fight. It was a close fight, but he showed the toughness, he can get up and keep going, and hopefully if he wins, then he'll be able to get someone to clean up his room. And if anybody else saw the state of it on... But yeah, Pacquiao for me on points, but Algieri definitely a live opponent.
I think he's a live opponent. I think Manny will beat him handily.
Yeah, I don't think Manny's going to spark him or anything. I mean, Manny's far too gone for knocking people out these days, but I don't see Algieri going as far as even beating him.
I don't think he's iced anyone at 147 before, has he? Hasn't really. Obviously, he beat down Cotto. That was about it.
Yeah, but his last stoppage was Cotto, and really, that was at the end of the fight, weren't it? When Cotto could have been let to go, really, if he wanted to.
Margarito should have been a stoppage.
Yeah, that's
bullshit.
Margarito should have been.
Which one?
Margarito.
Bullshit.
Yeah, the ref should have probably stopped that.
Pacquiao's power never carried up to 147. If you look at his fights at welter with his stoppages, De La Hoya, that was a beatdown. Miguel Cotto beat down. And that's it. So people see that.
Put Mosley down. That's about it.
He didn't, and that's a good achievement. But yeah, his power's not really carried up.
To be fair to Pacquiao, though, if you look at his opponents, they've all got good chins, or they're not known for being, dropped or stopped easy. I mean, even guys like Rios, Mosley, Marquez, Clottey, Margarito, none of them are, even Tim Bradley, none of them are known to be, going down or getting stopped. And I think that's unfair.
Fighters.
Thing is, I think he carried Margarito for the last 3 or 4 rounds of that fight.
Bullshit.
You don't think so? He carried him, mate. He did carry him. So I think we're all kind of siding that Pacquiao was going to win it, but I really don't think he's going to have it all his own way. We'll wait and see. But we'll wait and see if Alex is going to be really passionate about it when he gets on here next week. especially if Pacquiao ends up fucking getting jobbed.
I'll be ducking that way.
And if Tony Bellew gets the win.
Well, this is it.
If he ices cleverly.
Just before we close off, I want to get everyone's official and final prediction for this fight coming up. Alex, who you got? Bellew cleverly.
I'm going to say cleverly because I'm going to say cleverly points because if I start thinking and believing that Tony will win it, then it might happen, and I'll be even more upset. So I hope cleverly fucking destroys him.
Yeah, you're hoping, so really.
Yeah, I think Tony is better at this weight for all of his posturing and all his nonsense. I do think he suits cruiserweight better than Cleverly, but I think Cleverly's a better boxer. Yet again, he's got better speed, and I think he could embarrass Tony, but yeah, I reckon Tony could knock him out.
Donnie?
I'm going to go with Bellew by upset.
Knockout.
Prick. Yeah, and I think Cleverly might be a little gun shy after that destruction of the hands of Provodnikov. I mean, at the hands of Kovalev, and it just remains to be seen what happens when he gets in there with a guy who can hit. Not that Bellew's a huge puncher, but I mean, he's big enough to, I think, to make Cleverly think in there. And I'm just wondering if he's going to stand in front and use the activity that Cleverly is, good at using.
But I mean, he has to get up close to guys and stand in front of them and let his hands go. But I'm just wondering if he's going to be a little gun shy about that. I mean, the guys he's fought since then in the build up to this fight, since the Kovalev fight, weren't real threats. But Bellew can hit, and I'm just wondering what'll be his tactics in this fight. I think Bellew is going into the fight knowing what he wants to do, and I'm not sure that Cleverly is going to be executing his game plan when he gets in there.
Steve?
As much as it pains me to say it, I think Bellew is going to knock him out. I don't think Cleverly's the same anymore. His heart's not in the game. The beating he took at the hands of Kovalev just sickened him, and I think he would have walked away if someone hadn't had a word in his ear. You know, the move to Matchroom, move up to Cruiserweight, let's have a fresh start. We can get the Bellew rematch, make a bit of money. You know, there's still a bit more mileage out of you, Nathan. Keep fighting. I'm just wondering if that's the type of advice he's had. I don't think he wants to be a fighter anymore. And I think that for all his bluster and bullshit, Bellew's, that sounded pretty good, didn't it? Bellew's going to knock him out in about the 10th round or something like that. But I hope Cleverly wins.
Tommy?
Nathan Cleverly is going to win the fight. He is actually going to dominate the fight. He'll dominate it with speed, precision, punching, by sticking his tongue out at Tony Bellew at certain points in the fight. After 6 rounds, Tony Bellew's going to be tired. He's going to be very tired. He's going to be so tired, he's going to be breathing out his arse. Nathan is going to dominate the later rounds, and I can see a decision win, about 9 rounds to 3. Then Nathan's going to fight Lebedev, and he's going to beat him. He's going to beat Marco Hook if he doesn't run away like a pussy to cruiserweight. Then he's going to beat the lineal champion, the Cuban, what's his face, Hernandez. He's getting it next.
Moves to heavyweight.
Probably take Vlad out if he fancies it. Then obviously get the rematch with Kovalev at his right weight. And
Tommy,
that's right.
Tommy, listen to me
Yes,
right
mate.
now.
Yes, mate.
Listen, if you got some angel dust in that kebab,
cleverly wide decision.
That delivery food is laced with crack.
I do agree with Tommy in the sense that I think if Bellew's going to win the fight by knockout, it's going to have to be early, because I think he's going to be the tired fighter in the second half of the fight. People can say it suits him better. Cleverly's the athlete, as he said. Cleverly's the better conditioned fighter. He's got the stamina. He can go all night if he has to. Bellew can't, and people forget. But yeah, Bellew might have had better competition at cruiserweight, but he was also badly hurt in his fight with Brudoff. I think it was the 8th round. He was gone, and then Brudoff stupidly gave him a low blow, and he enabled him to recover. But I think when the fight was first announced, I went with Bellew by KO, but I'm thinking Cleverly on points again. I think he's going to smother him. He's going to be up. When I think he gets close to him, that's when he does the better. I think if he stands off Bellew, that's when he can be caught by big shots. But when he gets on his chest and smothers him with activity, a bit like Highland against Macklin, I don't know if Bellew's going to be able to cope with that again. And I don't see the added weight as being better to his condition. Yeah, it might make him punch harder, but after 5 or 6 rounds, I think he's going to be struggling if he hasn't got rid of him.
Going to beat him like a red-headed stepchild.
Just not to say that despicable comment.
I'm swinging. I mean, I'm swinging back and forward with this one. Part of me really wants Cleverly to turn the business. I just really sometimes think maybe Bellew's got just a wee bit too emotionally invested in this fight somehow. But Dave Caldwell says that's not going to be a problem. He seems to think that will be. He's not going to come out like a maniac anyway. I don't think. I think that's what Caldwell was getting at as well.
It's going to look like the first fight, I think. Really. Well, I don't think it'll be quite as close, but the first part of the fight's going to. They're both going to be PG early, aren't they?
The thing is, I mean, if you don't like Tony Bellew, maybe it's better if he does win, because then there's a chance of him going in with someone like Hook or Lebedev, and then it's a chance of his head getting blasted off.
I suppose we need to ask if Tony's going to leave his soul at the scale.
We should have done what excuses will Tony use if he loses?
What do you think?
Overtrained.
Overtrained. That's a good one. I definitely overtrained.
Overtrained because he seems to be obsessed. It seems to be obsessed with us. I couldn't cope with the pressure because it was pay-per-view.
How about a bit of a Cleverly hasn't been random drug tested?
Yeah, that'll be there.
Yeah. I've got one. How many fights has Tony Bellew had? Exactly.
20 or something.
I'm a 25 fight novice.
You can't rule that out.
I'm new to the weight. I'm not used to this weight.
And then he moves up to heavyweight.
The thing is, though, if he does lose this fight, Bellew, I mean,
leave the country.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think it would get laughed out at Liverpool. I really think mentally he'll never be the same fighter again. I really believe that. I don't think he'll be able to cope if he loses this fight.
I don't know, though, he says all this before every fight, though, doesn't he? And then the Chilemba fight, he put that performance in. Stevenson, look at that performance. He'll just forget about it, and then it'll be the same next fight.
The thing
is, you're an Everton supporter. Did you just a failure, isn't it?
The thing is, I've said it before, the more Bellew talks about what he's going to do in the ring, the less he does. And he's talked a hell of a lot, so I'm expecting him not to throw hardly at all in this fight.
So you think he might come out like Audley Harris thing as David Hay?
He could do, yeah. Or the second, the McKenzie fight where he gave a masterclass, didn't he?
Oh, the McKenzie fight. No, and Chilemba. Who beats Isaac Chilemba? I mean, to be honest, that first Chilemba fight, was there no... I can't remember much about it because obviously it would have cured the dead. But was there no talk about Chilemba actually may have had a good chance or should have had a shout of winning that fight?
I think both. There was a lot of people thought both Chilemba won both fights. He actually scored both fights to Bellew, but I really... they were very close and competitive, they both weren't they?
Bellew himself probably thought that he lost the fight because at the end, remember, he started screaming around the ring, I won that fight. You know, he didn't look like somebody who was truly believed he did. He was trying to convince everybody at ringside because I think he knew that he'd put in, a real sketchy performance.
Yeah.
You've got to remember, though, Chilemba actually isn't a bad opponent, is he? He's quite a good fighter. He's just he's an awkward bastard, but he's a good fighter.
I'm going to go out and say that maybe Cleverly's going to do it in points.
Can anyone see Cleverly winning by stoppage, though? Could anyone think he can punch hard enough to knock the better out?
I don't think it's impossible for a late stoppage, but
It'll be
it's going to distance this fight.
It'll be a flurry. What will happen is if he's going to stop him, he'll need to ping him hard with something that's going to basically buckle Bellew back into the ropes, and he's going to have to follow it up a la Calzaghe style and just fucking let the hands go and see if he can. See if he can get
Joe in.
See if he can get like maybe a 30-punch combo in or something, and there's no response back for Bellew or something.
I think he's got to go to Bellew's body as well. I mean, he will surely be tired. He's not known for his great stamina. I mean, and Cleverly that's the great advantage that he's got in this fight.
Yeah. So there we go. I think we've got, was it two of us picking Bellew? Donnie and Steve, is that right?
Ban them from the show forever.
Anyway, just to let the listeners know, is again we've got the Wednesday interview will be coming out with Dave Caldwell. You'll get that on iTunes, Tumblr, and on Mixlr as well. And then obviously we'll be hoping to go live after the Bellew Cleverly fight on Saturday, roughly around about 11:30, 12 midnight.
Unless Bellew looks sensational, we'll just not bother.
Yeah. Either than that, we'll see you on Sunday. I've been your host, Andy Patterson. I'd like to thank Alex Morris, Downey Baseball, Steve Wellens, Tommy Allen, and Kurt Ward. And we'll hopefully see you either Saturday, but definitely next Sunday. All the best.
Free Chad Evans.
Steel Hammer. Best ever.
Gallagher's a useless cock.
Amir Khan, #1 pound for pound.
Audley Harrison on next week's pay-per-view.